Chapter 245. Pilgrimage or Tearing Down the Place, 4. A second-class force actually has a saintess? How interesting. I bet that lass from Thistles and Thorns sect couldn't take more than 3 stroke. That Mu Wanwan from Flame Palace seemed to be a level 7 proficient. I guess she can beat her in just 1 or 2 strokes. Judging from what the saintess said, they want to teach this lass from Thistles and Thorns sect a lesson. Everyone stared at the field and exchanged views about it. The elders and attendants from Thistles and Thorns sect were overwrought. Despite knowing that Xiaoyu had a domineering inborn constitution, they were worried, as she was going to face a disciple from Flame Palace. After all, it had not been long since Xiaoyu began her cultivation, and she did not have any combat experience. Elder Fong and sect leader Tang at the side looked relieved though. Hee. Elder Lu revealed a faint smile as he looked at his apprentice with a satisfied look under the large cauldron. I'll let you have a go first, lass. Mu Wanwan scorned Xiaoyu with one hand behind her back, and another hand holding her belt sword. She raised her eyebrow at her. Fine. Xiaoyu took a deep breath, grasping the sword in her hand. This was her first fight and her first real combat experience. She closed her eyes and recalled the sword movement taught by her teacher and sect leader Tang. Poot, what is that lass doing? Is she too nervous? Haha, the saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect is funny. She is so nervous that she closed her eyes. If such a lass can become a saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect, I think they can really disband. The spectators around them chortled when they saw how Xiaoyu was behaving. The saintess from Thistles and Thorns sect was amusing. I'm going to attack. Xiaoyu opened her eyes and looked fixedly at Mu Wanwan without any emotion. Hee lass. Mu Wanwan shook her head disdainfully. However, Xiaoyu held her sword and thrust forward with a sharp radiance on her sword edge, and a swift movement just like the wind. Xiaoyu had completely adjusted herself to her peak condition in terms of her speed and strength. This blow was almost at the peak of an attack from a level 8 martial artist. The moment Xiaoyu struck, Mu Wanwan felt as though a lion was coming her way when she looked at the sword propelled at a breakneck speed. Her expression changed abruptly as she quickly put up her block. Ah! A horrified shriek cut the air in the field. Mu Wanwan stared with a ghastly look at the sword that had slashed her belly. A honed sword had slit her clothes, and blood was oozing out from it. If Xiaoyu had not altered the course of the sword slightly, she could have killed Mu Wanwan instantly. Shocking. Everyone watched the stage in disbelief as they could not believe their eyes. They were stupefied when they witnessed Xiaoyu's sword slashing the disciple of Flame Palace. With just a stroke, Xiaoyu had almost killed Mu Wanwan, a level 7 martial artist from Flame Palace, in a split second. Swift and mighty move. Her speed and her power are equivalent to a level 8 martial artist. Gosh, the saintess from Thistles and Thorns sect is a level 8 martial artist? Unbelievable. An instant kill within 1 stroke. This young girl is domineering. Incredible. She's at least a level 8 martial artist. Well, a juvenile who is not even 20 years old possesses a level 8 strength? Such an intimidating talent. Level 8 martial artist. She could jolly reach inborn realm in the future. No wonder Thistles and Thorns sect conferred her as the saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect. She has dominating endowment. Her talent is intimidating. Even the saint and saintess from Flame Palace were not as gifted as her. The atmosphere got heated instantly. They stared in disbelief at Xiaoyu, who had slashed the disciple from Flame Palace in a split second. Just now they were still mocking and scoffing at her. The next moment she made an instant kill. The intimidating talent. How is this possible? Even the disciples stared at Xiaoyu with shock. With a level 8 strength, she already surpassed many other Flame Palace disciples. The most surprising thing was her endowment. The faint smile on Saintess Luan Fenghua's lips slowly disappeared. Her eyes glittered as she fixed her eyes at Xiaoyu with surprise. The 4 elders below the large cauldron were taken aback as they looked at Xiaoyu. A saintess of second-class sect at the age of 18 or 19 actually possessed the strength of a level 8 martial artist. Her endowment was even better than their saint and saintess. Did I win? Xiaoyu fixed her eyes on Mu Wanwan, who was horrified, and asked impassively. Her voice was heard throughout the field. Everyone halted their breathing for a moment and stopped their conversations. It was so quiet that everyone could hear a pin drop. Well, well. What a wonderful saintess of thistles and thorns sect and Tang Linglong. Elder Lu sat under the large cauldron and muttered in a low voice with a gloomy look. Elder Lu. She's just a lass with extraordinary talents. Before she's a grown-up, she's still a lass. Upon hearing what Elder Lu said, he answered with a dismissive expression. He stood up slowly and cast a look at Xiaoyu. With a beam he said, very good. The young lady has such an outstanding talent to achieve level 8 at such a young age. Her. What's going on? An elder of Flame Palace praised her personally? Don't tell me that this elder is fond of talents. The surrounding crowd was puzzled as they watched the elder of Flame Palace stand up. Wang Yu, right? Well done. The old man continued his praise. It would be a waste for this supreme talent to stay in Thistles and Thorns sect. But after all, you're a saintess. Why not this? I'll make an arrangement today. Since the saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect is such a gifted person, we have a disciple who is a descendant of a highly ranked member in Flame Palace. I've decided to let saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect marry the descendant of attendant Peng. The old man stood beside the giant cauldron and announced this right away. What? Does the Flame Palace want to have an allegiance marriage with Thistles and Thorns sect? If she marries the descendant of a highly ranked member in Flame Palace, wouldn't Thistles and Thorns sect be affiliated with Flame Palace? This would be a blessing in disguise. Everyone below the stage froze for a moment before they began their discussion frantically again. Some of them envied Thistles and Thorns sect for having a blessing in disguise. Yet the elder's words stunned the disciples of the Flame Palace. The descendant of attendant Peng? Isn't he Peng Fengyun? That ugly idiot? To betroth the saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect to that idiot Peng Fengyun, he must be in luck. TSK, that saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect looks pretty. That ugly and silly idiot is really lucky. Disciples of the Flame Palace paused for a while before they whispered. Even though their voices were soft, all the martial artists around them could hear them. When they heard the whispering of Flame Palace disciples, they froze immediately. To betroth the saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect to an ugly and idiotic disciple was obviously an insult. Nothing was more humiliating than this. Chapter 246. Are you all worthy? What? Xiaoyu, who was standing on the stage, was shocked to see the elder who stood up and decided her marriage suddenly. Her marriage wasn't something that could be casually determined by others. Moreover, she was asked to marry a mentally challenged guy. Were they trying to humiliate her? Below the stage, sect leader Tang and Elder Fong looked aghast upon hearing the elder of the Flame Palace. Elder, you don't have to worry about the marriage of a disciple of the Thistles and Thorns sect. Moreover, we are just a small second-class force. There's no way we deserve someone from the Flame Palace. Sect leader Tang immediately stood up and said bitterly. As long as I say it can. This matter is settled. That old man looked nonchalantly at sect leader Tang and spoke in a definitive tone. It's over. The future of that genius girl is ruined. Marrying an idiot? So what if he's the descendant of a highly ranked member of the sacred sect? What a humiliation. Thistles and Thorns sect finally found a genius young girl. Yet, she has to marry an idiot from the Flame Palace. What a huge insult. This young lady has chosen the wrong sect. It will be easy for her to join a first-class force or even a sacred sect. She might very well make it to the Outstanding Young Heroes chart one day, and become an inborn expert. Around them, voices of discussion didn't stop. However, they did not mock the Flame Palace or say a single word that suggested Flame Palace was wrong. This was a manifestation of the influence Flame Palace possessed. Interesting. Trying to humiliate us? Below the stage, Wang Xian saw the old man acting like his words were the decree of an emperor. Instantly, murderous intent flashed in his mind. Even an idiot wishes to marry my sister. Is the Flame Palace crazy? Wang Xian remarked emotionlessly, stepping forward and staring at the old man. Huh. Wang Xian's voice shocked the surrounding crowd. Who dares to retort the elder of the Flame Palace? Are you seeking death? The crowd followed the source of the voice and looked over. The elder from the Flame Palace was shocked. He squinted his eyes, stared at Wang Xian and was shocked. So it's Miracle Dr. Wang. I had not expected this genius young girl to be your sister. The elder of Flame Palace looked ahead as he commented. Miracle Dr. Wang. Miracle Dr. Wang? There's only one miracle doctor that is so young. He must be the 8th-ranked miracle doctor, Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. So this young girl is the sister of Miracle Dr. Wang, an 8th-ranked miracle doctor on the miracle doctor's chart. There's no wonder his sister is so strong. I was still wondering how a small thistles and thorns sect could nurture such a talented young girl. The crowd looked towards Wang Xian and exclaimed, Miracle Dr. Wang, isn't this a great thing? At this moment Elder Lu stood up slowly. A ruthless light flashed in his eyes as he continued, Our Flame Palace wished to invite you to join us but was rejected. If this goes through, although Miracle Dr. Wang couldn't join our Flame Palace, you can become related to us. That's a good outcome too. Elder Lu's word shocked the crowd as they looked at Wang Xian. Who could have expected Miracle Dr. Wang to reject Flame Palace's invitation? We are talking about an invitation from a sacred sect. As a new sacred sect, if Miracle Dr. Wang joins them, he would definitely be treated generously. Who would have expected him to reject the invitation? Hehe. Asking my sister to marry a retard? Wang Xian looked emotionlessly at Elder Lu. He's not a retard. He's the descendant of someone who has contributed much to the Flame Palace. His standing in the Flame Palace won't be low. Elder Lu's lips curved up slightly. Is it so? Wang Xian laughed mockingly. A light flickered in his eyes as he looked in the opposite direction. At that place, an expressionless young man stood there. He had short hair and a devilish aura around him. The young man felt the gaze from Wang Xian, bowed respectfully and nodded his head. Following which, the young man looked to the central location coldly. A retard of the Flame Palace wishes to marry a girl favored by the gods. Isn't the Flame Palace a little too indulged in your own fantasies? Are you guys deserving of her? He walked slowly ahead with a cold smirk without a tinge of fear that he was facing a sacred sect. Huh. The crowd was surprised by the voice and looked in the direction of it. Who's that young man? Is he courting death? Everyone looked over and was confused by the young man in front of them. Elder Lu also turned around immediately and stared coldly at the young men. Before the elders of Flame Palace said a word, the Saintess Luan Fanghua remarked coldly, a descendant of one of the contributors of Flame Palace isn't someone you can comment on casually. You are digging your own grave by insulting the disciples of the Flame Palace. Hehe. The young man gave a sarcastic smile and continued, Can it be that trash disciples of Flame Palace can't be criticized by others? Just because you are from a sacred sect? Exactly. It's because we are from a sacred sect. Saintess Luan Fanghua stared domineering at the young man. She waved the long sword lightly in her hand before continuing, If you say another word, I'll definitely slay you. Ha ha. At this moment the young man burst into laughter. I'm Wuxia. Since the Saintess of Flame Palace wishes to slay me, it's only natural that I take on the challenge. Wuxia was a name used by Mo Wuxia in the underworld. Mo Wuxia leaped and descended onto the field. He looked at the 4 elders at the central location and smirked. I'm guessing the elders of Flame Palace wouldn't fight with the junior. Am I right? Diamond Bone Wuxia. He's the 19th ranked Wuxia on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. Wuxia was one favored by the gods, who emerged from nowhere half a month ago. As a rogue cultivator, he made it to the 19th position on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart at the young age of 26 years old. Wuxia from the Outstanding Young Heroes chart? What is he trying to do? Challenge the Saint and Saintess of Flame Palace? I heard that Wuxia has been going around challenging various geniuses. Just a while ago, he defeated the 19th ranked genius and replaced him on the chart. When the crowd heard Mo Wuxia reveal his name, they were slightly shocked. At the central location, the elders of Flame Palace squinted their eyes and fixed their gazes on him. You! Saintess Luan Fanghua stared coldly at Mo Wuxia and remarked, A 19th ranked guy on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart isn't qualified to make our elders take you on. Since you want to kick up a fuss today, I just have to cut you down, said the saintess. She handled the long sword in her hand slowly and said, Diamond Bone? I'll turn you into a corpse today. Haha, just you alone? Oh, little saintess of the Flame Palace, you are just trash to me. Come forward with that saint, shouted Mo Wuxia brazenly as he stared at Luan Fanghua. His arrogance was through the skies. The surrounding crowd stared at the brazen Mo Wuxia in disbelief. Is there something wrong with his head? How is he so daring to taunt the saint and saintess of the Flame Palace here? Chapter 247. Are you all worthy? 2. Everyone stared at the extremely arrogant Mo Wuxia. In their eyes, this Wuxia might be a retard. How dare he taunt the saint and saintess of Flame Palace? He was obviously digging his own grave. The Flame Palace would never let him off. I'll kill him, said Saint of Flame Palace indifferently. He had been keeping his quiet. As he spoke, he gazed at Mo Wuxia. No you don't. How dare a 19th ranked guy on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart speak impudently? Let me slaughter him. Saintess Luan Fanghua cast a glance at Saint Mo Tsanghai. With an arm swing, she held her sword in her hand. She fixed her eyes on Mo Wuxia and said coldly, You'll pay for your brazen words with your life. As soon as she finished her words, she dived out like a dancing swallow on fire. Her body was glowing with red radiance as she darted towards Mo Wuxia. What light, flexible footwork and fiery attack. Saintess at the peak of level 8 has such mighty attacking power. Even I, as a level 9 martial artist, would be terrified by her assault. Too formidable. Since average disciples of Flame Palace are capable of beating someone of their same level, the strength that Saintess possesses will be more intimidating. A moth that flies into the flame. Mo Wuxia was emotionless when he saw the light and fast figure attacking him. He stretched out his arm with black aura exuding from his body. Show me what the Saintess of Flame Palace has got. Both of his arms danced in the air as the sword of Luan Fanghua approached him. Go and die. Luan Fanghua's eyes were filled with killing intent. She jerked her arm, and the sword burst into flames. She aimed and thrust her sword at Mo Wuxia's arm. Bam bam bam. However, a crisp and clear sound was heard when the honed sword fell on Mo Wuxia's arm. The golden blade aura could not win against the mortal flesh and bones. What? Saintess Luan Fanghua made a different expression as she wielded her sword with a stern face. The battle of the sword and physical body was actually on par. The Diamond Bone lives up to his name. He's so formidable that even Saintess Luan Fanghua could not break through his defense. Isn't he impressive? Saintess is in the top 50 on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. All the spectators were stunned as they placed their attention on the fight between the two people. Saintess Luan Fanghua wielded her sword, aiming all the vital parts of Mo Wuxia. His face was looking colder than before. Shoo! A flash of red light darted straight in his eyes. Mo Wuxia jerked his arm and divine dragon scales emerged on his hand. Pa! His palm grabbed the sword immediately while he moved his body closer to Saintess Luan Fanghua, who was shocked by it. Mo Wuxia charged at her with almighty physical strength. Bam! Weak. Too weak. Saintess of Flame Palace is just Mo Wuxia struck a heavy blow to Luan Fanghua's chest. She puked a mouthful of blood and looked pale. He laughed loudly as he retreated 10 meters away from her. With a pair of eyes that shone like torches, he glared at Saint Mo Tsanghai. Next! Boom! Mo Tsanghai's body quaked, and a faint flaming aura encircled him. He stared at Mo Wuxia coldly. Die! He's formidable. Luan Fanghua could not help but puke a mouthful of blood at the side. With a pale-looking face, she warned Mo Tsanghai. She was macabre as she looked fixedly at the arrogant figure. What? Saintess was already defeated? Dominating. Diamond Bone Wuxia's assault was overbearing. His powerful defense vanquished her in all aspects. His strength is definitely higher than his ranking on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. Saintess is defeated. Gosh. The surrounding crowd got the shock of their lives. The four elders of Flame Palace sitting in the central position had a slight vile expression. A rogue cultivator defeated their Saintess of Flame Palace at this time. If word about what happened today got around, the Flame Palace would definitely be embarrassed. Haha, I made myself clear. Only when two of you join hands can you qualify to fight with me. One is just a long way to go. Mo Wuxia scoffed at Mo Songhai. Stop your arrogance. Mo Songhai showed signs of embarrassment on his cool-looking face. He made a shift move and struck Mo Wuxia. Haha. Mo Wuxia cackled as his body was shrouded within a demonic aura. I'm capable of doing that in front of you. Audacious and boundless arrogance. The disciples of Flame Palace around exhibited extremely dreadful looks. Their expressions sunk as they fixed their attention on Mo Wuxia. If it were not for the presence of the various sects and families from different provinces here, they would have besieged and whacked that arrogant fellow. However, they could not do it now. Even if they dared to do it, the reputation of Flame Palace would be ruined. The four Flame Palace elders sat in the field with darkened expressions as they gazed at the fight with cold faces. Mo Wuxia and Mo Songhai's battle broke out instantly. Mo Songhai, ranked 14th on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart, was the saint of Sacred Sect Flame Palace. He was a level 9 martial artist before he turned 32. Hence, his endowment was intimidating. But even so, Mo Songhai was at the total losing end when he battled with Mo Wuxia. Everyone was stupefied as they watched Mo Wuxia suppressing Mo Songhai with his fearsome steel bones and iron muscles. The saint was powerless to put up a resistance. Saint of Sacred Sect is just so. Mo Wuxia rolled his 5 fingers into claws. Black aura wrapped around his hands and his hands took the form of dragon claws. You lose. He burst out a clap of laughter and ripped the person in front of him with a claw. Mo Songhai was horrified as he quickly raised his arm to block the blow. When the terrifying crash was felt, his face went grisly. Ah! Mo Wuxia gripped and scratched the arm of Mo Songhai with 5 fingers. 5 deep and bloody marks were left on it with wounds that went deep into the bone. Blood dripped as Mo Songhai stared at Mo Wuxia, who withdrew his arm slowly. Mo Songhai was looking vile. Mo Wuxia was ostentatious. He had a disdainful face and was full of arrogance. Even the Saintess and Saint of Flame Palace were defeated. I wonder if there are other outstanding young people from Flame Palace? Mo Wuxia swept his gaze across the disciples of Flame Palace with a sneer. Finally, he looked at the 4 elders in the field. Elders, given the strength of your disciples, how can the Flame Palace be worthy of this girl who is favored by God? Darn! This Wuxia is such a braggart. He's asking for death. That is simply taking the disciples of Flame Palace as trash. That's right. Wang Xian looked at Mo Wuxia with satisfaction. Talking about flaunting, Mo Wuxia was still very good at it. He took a glance at the injured Saintess and Saint before he sneered. He turned to the elders of Flame Palace. Elders, since anyone can beat the hell out of the Saintess and Saint of Flame Palace, I think you can forget about this marriage. Since your Saintess and Saint turned out to be this way, whichever descendant of that highly ranked member, does he deserve it? Wang Xian scorned and sneered at them. The one who humiliates others can be humiliated too. Since Flame Palace wanted to show off the strength of their younger generation, then they would just vanquish the Saint and Saintess. Chapter 248. All-rounded suppression. The line, "Are you deserving?" resounded throughout the entire field. Everyone was dumbfounded as they turned to Wang Xian and the Flame Palace. Are you deserving? This had shamed the members of the Flame Palace. You aren't deserving. At this moment Mo Wuxia, who was standing in the middle of the field, made a shocking remark. His remark seemed to be a response to Wang Xian's question. After which, he walked to Xiaoyu and did something that made the crowd into disheveled. Mo Wuxia went down on one knee in front of Xiaoyu. With his head lowered slightly he said, "Saintess, if there's anything Wuxia can do to be of help to you in the future, please give me your orders." Rumble. Everyone in the field looked at them in disbelief. The one favored by the gods, Wuxia, questioned if Flame Palace could merit a girl like Xiaoyu. Miracle Dr. Wang questioned whether Flame Palace was deserving of Xiaoyu. Also, the proud son of heaven, Wuxia, kneeled respectfully in front of the saintess of the thistles and thorns sect like a servant. Together, this was equivalent to openly questioning if Flame Palace was qualified to match with the saintess of the thistles and thorns sect. A tight slap to their faces. A while ago, Flame Palace declared with dominance the marriage of the saintess of the thistles and thorns sect with a retard from the Flame Palace. The next moment, a miracle doctor and a proud son of heaven questioned their qualifications through a display of strength. Do you guys merit her? Are you deserving? The entire field had quietened down. At this moment no one dared to say a word. The 4 elders of Flame Palace in the middle of the field were aghast and stood up coldly. Rumble. Strong flames raged on from the large cauldron behind them as the sounds of fire burning resounded in the field. Their eyes fell gradually on Wang Xian and Mo Wuxia. Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. At this very moment a middle-aged man, who was wearing attire with a large mountain embroidered on it, stared at Wang Xian with a vengeance from the corner of the field. It's all because of him that our Lingyue sect suffered such great losses, said the middle-aged man to the old man beside him. The old man nodded his head as his eyes turned cold. He squinted his eyes and looked towards Mo Wuxia who was in the field. This rascal is clearly standing up for Miracle Dr. Wang. In that case. The lips on the old man slowly arched into a smirk. Since Lingyue sect was at deep enmity with Miracle Dr. Wang, he might as well get on the good books of Flame Palace at this moment. The old man stepped forward and shouted, "Rascal, how dare you be so brazen to the sacred sect, Flame Palace? Are you courting death? Are you courting death?" The voice of the old man broke the silence in the field and resounded in the ears of the crowd. This voice? That's the aura of an inborn expert. Just as the old man opened his mouth, everyone was shocked and looked over quickly. It's the sect leader of Lingyue sect. Lingyue sect. Is he? An old man walked towards the middle of the field amidst the gazes from the crowd. He was staring coldly at Mo Wuxia. The crowd was slightly shocked and soon understood what was happening. The sect leader of Lingyue sect was intending to take on Mo Wuxia. As a sacred sect, the elders of the Flame Palace couldn't act as they wished when Mo Wuxia defeated their saint and saintess. If they did, the Flame Palace would bear the name of a bully, and one who didn't follow the customs and rules. Although Mo Wuxia was arrogant, his challenge to the saint and saintess of the Flame Palace was official after all. The Flame Palace couldn't possibly kill him just because he defeated the saint and saintess of the Flame Palace. As a new sacred sect, they had to pay a lot of attention to their reputation. However, even if the Flame Palace couldn't act themselves, it didn't mean others couldn't act on their behalf. The sect leader of Lingyue sect was attempting to get on the good books of the Flame Palace. Seeing the approaching sect leader of Lingyue sect, the 4 elders of Flame Palace revealed a gratified look. As a sacred sect, there would be times when they wouldn't have to handle some matters themselves because others would volunteer to do it for them. Rascal, you must be eager to die for being so arrogant to the Flame Palace. I'll give you 3 minutes. Get lost or die. The sect leader stared at Mo Wuxia as he spoke emotionlessly. At the same time, he sent the aura of an inborn expert towards Mo Wuxia directly. Mo Wuxia was surprised. He covered himself in a devilish aura as he tried to withstand the aura of the sect leader of Lingyue sect. If Wuxia still chooses to act rashly, he is likely to be killed. He's too arrogant. Under such circumstances, even if the Flame Palace doesn't act, there would be people jumping out to teach Wuxia a lesson. Although they were slightly surprised by Wuxia initially, they weren't exactly surprised to see an inborn expert targeting Mo Wuxia. "Kesuke, how dare you be so arrogant in the territory of our Flame Palace? Even if we don't do a thing, others would step forward to put you down." When the group of disciples of Flame Palace saw an inborn expert stepping forward to target Mo Wuxia, they smiled cockily. They wouldn't need the elders to do anything, and there would naturally be experts who would step in. Everyone looked at Mo Wuxia, who was in the middle of the field. At this moment he probably couldn't be arrogant. He's just a junior. As an inborn expert, why are you so calculative? However, Just as everyone thought that the sect leader of Lingua sect would act to suppress Mo Wuxia, a cold voice sounded. An invisible aura blocked the stifling pressure of an inborn expert from Lingua sect directly. What? An inborn expert? There's an inborn expert who wants to stick up for Wuxia. Is this an open confrontation with the Flame Palace? Everyone was shocked and immediately turned their head over. At the corner where the people from Flow City gathered, a middle-aged man held a long sword in his hand, his hair covering his face. Maniac G. The crowd was stunned, and so was the sect leader of Lingua sect. He stared intensely at him as his expression turned solemn. Maniac G. The elders and disciples of Flame Palace looked over coldly. Maniac G of Flow City. The sect leader of Lingua sect stared harshly at him and chided. This is a matter of Lingua sect. You can't stop me. I'd love to give it a try. Suddenly, an emotionless voice sounded from the crowd. A strong aura swept towards the sect leader of Lingua sect directly. The strong approaching aura shocked the sect leader of Lingua sect. What? Everyone in the crowd immediately looked over. It was another middle-aged man standing beside the Thistles and Thorns sect. He was staring harshly at the sect leader of Lingua sect. Get back to your sect. Otherwise, Lingua sect won't have a single peaceful day. The middle-aged man was none other than Mo Yuan, who demanded coldly. Fuck. 2 inborn experts. 2 freaking inborn experts. What is he trying to do? Challenging the Flame Palace openly? Oh my god. There are 2 inborn experts now. This is too terrifying. The sect leader of Lingua sect tried to suppress the proud son of Heaven Wuxia. To his astonishment, 2 inborn experts stepped forward to safeguard him. What a domineering appearance. Who is that middle-aged man standing beside the Thistles and Thorns sect? What a terrifying aura he has. Why haven't I heard of such an inborn expert? The surrounding crowd was shocked to witness the development of events. Chapter 249. All-Rounded Suppression 2. Sect leader of Lingua sect warned Wuxia, the outstanding young hero, to get lost within 3 minutes or die. Then 2 inborn experts appeared immediately. Maniac G, who possessed the strength to annihilate a first-class force by himself, showed up. An unknown middle-aged man who exhibited domineering appearance with similar overweening tonality. He just said, get back to your sect. Otherwise, Lingua sect won't have a single peaceful day. Overbearing to the max. Sect leader of Lingua sect's expression turned vile instantly. With a darkened expression, he stared at Mo Yuan, who had a murderous look on him. 2 inborn experts. One was Maniac G, who was both ruthless and righteous. Another one was a middle-aged man who proclaimed Lingua sect would not have a single peaceful day. Sect leader of Lingua sect dared not take what the 2 inborn experts said as jokes. Hence, he was extremely embarrassed as he was stuck in a difficult position. A difficult one. With a sullen look, he swept his gaze across Maniac G and Mo Yuan, then to the surroundings. Unless another inborn expert helped him out at this time, he would have to grit his teeth and scram. He looked at all the inborn experts of first-class forces and finally stopped at his good friend, Fengyang Lai, the leader of Fengyang family. So long as he had his good friend's help at this moment, and the backing of Flame Palace, so what if it were 2 inborn experts? Fengyang Lai, who was standing below the stage, sensed the gaze from the sect leader of Lingua sect. He was hesitant for a moment before he nodded his head slowly. If he stepped forward at this point in time, he would befriend the Flame Palace and Sacred Sect. What? Not a single peaceful day? Hey, do you think you're qualified to do so to Lingua sect? Fengyang Lai held a sword and strode out slowly. Another inborn expert. Is this going to be the battle between inborn experts? Gosh, the leader of Fengyang family is here. Another inborn expert. Hayak Hayak. The entire quiet square bustled with the voice of Fengyang Lai. Another inborn expert, another one. Forget about others. Just the lineup was good enough to thrill anyone. However, Fengyang Lai, who was striding forward, suddenly froze. He heard a familiar voice. A voice that could tremble him. That Hayak Hayak with the foreign accent was annoying to his ears, but at the same time it left a deep impression on him. His body froze as he peered to his left. He saw the foreigner in a scarlet tuxedo staring at him coldly, licking his lips. Seeing this, he was unsure if he should swear. Damn, are they from the same gang? Feng Yonglai had a drastic change in his expression. 3 inborn experts. Fuck, these 3 inborn experts are obviously from a gang. Fuck, the Fengyang family was not Flame Palace. 3 inborn experts could annihilate not only the Fengyang family but also Lingyue sect. It was a piece of cake for them. Is it worth it to fawn over Flame Palace and offend the 3 inborn experts? Fucking no. Feng Yonglai froze suddenly as he had a mixed expression. The sect leader of Lingyue sect in the middle was stunned slightly as he looked at Feng Yonglai with consternation. Everyone was staring at Feng Yonglai with questions. What's going on? Why did he stop halfway? Flaunt it. Why did you stop being ostentatious? Hee hee. Feng Yonglai put on a different expression. He spun around, looking awkward yet polite as he headed to his original position. Just like that, Feng Yonglai's series of actions stunned everyone around him. What's going on? What does this inborn expert mean? Everyone was taken by surprise. He asked if they thought they were qualified to bring turmoil to Lingyue sect. Then he went back. What the hell was that? What's going on? What is this leader of Fengyang family doing? Why did he suddenly retreat? I have no idea. His action was perplexing. We can't guess the thoughts of an inborn expert. The crowd commented in astonishment. However, sect leader of Lingyue sect had a dramatic change in his expression on the stage. He found himself in a difficult position as he looked at the 2 inborn experts who were staring back at him. Bam! Stand back, everyone. Are you courting your own doom to seek troubles on our territory? When Elder Lu noticed such a situation, he slammed his hand on his chair with a vile expression and bellowed in a low voice. He swept his cold gaze over Maniac Ji and Mo Yuan. Yes, Elder Lu. Sect leader of Lingyue sect felt relieved as he quickly answered. Elder Lu looked at Wang Xian indifferently. He observed the people around him with a grave expression. The elders of Flame Palace could tell that Maniac Ji and the middle-aged man beside Thistles and Thorns sect were here because of Miracle Dr. Wang. How dare you embarrass the Flame Palace? Several elders of Flame Palace were looking inhospitable. One of them cast a glance at Shanghua at the side. Hee hee. Shanghua revealed a faint smile on his face as he stood up slowly and walked to the center spot. His attention was on Wang Xian. I've long heard of your name, Miracle Dr. Wang. I thought we could be buddies of the same sect and exchange our medical skills. Never did I expect you would turn down the invitation. I guess I can only use this opportunity to learn from you. Shanghua spoke to Wang Xian with a beaming face. I also want to see if Miracle Dr. Wang lives up to his name as the young Miracle Doctor. This is... The way Miracle Dr. Wang handed this obviously pissed Flame Palace off. Hence, they were going to teach him a lesson. That's right. After all, they cannot get humiliated as a sacred sect. They must restore their dignity. Miracle Dr. Shanghua is renowned overseas. I wonder how he will do it. Everybody felt it was all imposing as they watched quietly. The impact that they got today was overwhelming. Shanghua, that cheap old man. Miracle Dr. Bloodman stared daggers at Shanghua as he whispered. Her? Do you know him? Asked Sun Lingxiu, looking at him. Yes, he's a lecher. Fuck. He stole a woman from me and even lectured me. Miracle Dr. Bloodman glared at him and said coldly, But master, my strength has improved tremendously. I'm not afraid of Shanghua now. Really? Sun Lingxiu smiled. I used to be afraid of this cheap old man. But now I'm not. Xiao Hong patted his chest and acted as though he was formidable. Go on. Sun Lingxiu said impassively. Yes, master. Today, I'll get a good game in with that cheap old man. Miracle Dr. Bloodman was elated as he stared at Shanghua and chuckled. Shanghua, you cheap old man. How dare you challenge my master's friend in medical skills? I think I will be the best person to do it. Just as when Shanghua was staring daggers at Wang Xian, Miracle Dr. Bloodman's broken Mandarin was heard again. As arrogant as ever. As broken as ever. Chapter 250, just this level. Damn it, they really are. When the arrogant voice sounded, Feng Yonglai's mouth twitched a little. His face darkened at the sight of the middle-aged man in a bright red tuxedo. Although his actions previously were a little embarrassing, he felt that his decision was a brilliant one when he heard this arrogant voice. These people are indeed together. Who is that foreigner? Why is he so arrogant? What an arrogant guy. However, the phrase cheap old man, and this old man became really hilarious in his tone. Who is that middle-aged man in a red tuxedo? How could he still be so arrogant to Miracle Dr. Shanghua? The surrounding crowd looked in shock at Miracle Dr. Bloodman, who stepped forward. How dare you speak like this to the Miracle Doctor of the Flame Palace? You must be courting death. An attendant from Flame Palace looked at Miracle Dr. Bloodman and chided. Hee. Miracle Dr. Bloodman did not pay attention to the attendant and simply stared at Shanghua. Old man. Not doing so well in Europe? Why are you here? Oh, little Bloodman. Upon hearing Miracle Dr. Bloodman calling him an old man, Miracle Dr. Shanghua was clearly displeased. He stared harshly at Miracle Dr. Bloodman as he remarked with contempt. Hee. You better be careful when speaking. I've reached the Prince realm now, and an old man like you isn't at the same level as me anymore. Miracle Dr. Bloodman stared at him with contempt before adding, Let's compete with medical techniques. Let me see what you are capable of. Prince Realm. Shanghua squinted his eyes upon hearing him. Although he was a little surprised, he still remarked coldly, Do you want me to purify you? Haha, old man. Do you think I, Miracle Dr. Bloodman, am still the same as before? Why don't we fight it out? Miracle Dr. Bloodman smiled sheepishly but gradually restrained his smile. On his red tuxedo, black and viscous blood started circulating. The scent of blood and raging aura emanated from his body. For blood cultivators and light cultivators like us, strength also represents the level of our medical techniques. My raging blood is making me really excited now. Hee. Miracle Dr. Bloodman lifted his head slowly. To the astonishment of the crowd, a pair of blood-red wings appeared behind him. This symbolized the strength of a Prince Realm expert and an incomparably noble existence. Come. Since I have advanced to the Prince Realm, I haven't experienced a battle that has made me tremble. My blood is now raging and calling out to you. Hee. Miracle Dr. Bloodman laughed hysterically. From him, an invincible vibe started to form around him. His devilish blood wings extended behind him as the scent of blood covered him. Miracle Dr. Bloodman had turned completely red. His eyes were even glowing in blood-red light and two huge fangs were exposed from his mouth. What horrifying aura! This is the vampire from Europe. He's a Prince Realm vampire. Oh my god. What a terrifying aura. He's too strong. Get back. The crowd was shocked. The stifling aura that Miracle Dr. Bloodman had exhibited sent chills down the sect leaders and family heads of various first-class forces. Those inborn experts stared fearfully at Miracle Dr. Bloodman, who was flapping his blood wings. Too strong. He's too strong. I'm so glad I did not mess with him previously. Feng Yonglai looked at Miracle Dr. Bloodman suspended in the air, and his heart was thumping violently. The strength that Miracle Dr. Bloodman had exhibited at this moment was even more frightening than before. Feng Yonglai was sure that it would be difficult for him to escape if they ever fought. This vampire. The four elders of Flame Palace, who were sitting in the central location, were dumbfounded. Oh. Inborn experts could be distinguished by their battle prowess, and could be separated into 4 tiers. The 4 tiers were Exploratory Inborn, Small Mastery Inborn, Great Mastery Inborn and Pinnacle Inborn. The 4 of them had the strength level of a Small Mastery Inborn expert. Together with the unique art of cultivation of the Flame Palace, they could fight with a Great Mastery Inborn expert. However, Miracle Dr. Bloodman made their hearts shiver in fear. The 4 of them exchanged gazes as fear gripped them. I had not expected a small bloodman could improve to this extent. Shanghua looked in shock at the impetuous Miracle Dr. Bloodman in the air. I could crush you easily in the past and I still can do it now. We are your natural nemesis. Xinghua's expression was glum. Waving his hand, a staff appeared in his hand. He held the staff with both of his hands and a dense light attribute energy emanated from his body. Light illuminate. A pair of wings made up of light energy appeared behind Miracle Dr. Xinghua. He had a holy glow around him and looked just like the angel in the legends. Light will definitely annihilate darkness. Miracle Dr. Xinghua held the staff in his hand as he gradually levitated towards Miracle Dr. Bloodman. Hehe. Darkness has already fallen. Carrying his bloody aura along, Miracle Dr. Bloodman charged towards Miracle Dr. Xinghua directly. Die! Holy slash! At this moment, Miracle Dr. Xinghua had an imposing look on him. The light energy around him masked the details of his face, making him look a little holier. He waved the staff in his hand and a cross-shaped slash flew towards Miracle Dr. Bloodman. My blood is raging. Miracle Dr. Bloodman stretched out his arms. Thick fresh blood surrounded him as he ripped apart the cross-shaped slash. However, the moment the cross-shaped slash impacted his hand, it mysteriously entered into the body of the Miracle Dr. Bloodman. This shocked him a little. To his surprise, he felt his blood become exceptionally excited when the light energy entered into his body. It was as though they were cheering. This. Miracle Dr. Bloodman was thrilled. Light had always been the counter against blood cultivators. However, he was no longer affected by light. In addition, he had a warm feeling when the light landed on him. Hee. Miracle Dr. Bloodman started laughing hysterically. My master is indeed incredible. Ha ha ha. He screamed excitedly as he looked fervently at Xinghua. Old man, have a taste of the powers of darkness. Moving his body, he charged towards Xinghua at an astonishing speed. In the air, Miracle Dr. Bloodman looked just like a curtain made of blood that descended towards Xinghua. Darkness shall expel light. Miracle Dr. Xinghua was unmoved. The powers of light had always been a good counter against blood cultivators. Even if the cultivation level of Miracle Dr. Bloodman had reached the level of Prince, it would still be highly effective. He held his staff with both hands as he chanted, Holy Light Illumination. Slash. Blinding rays appeared in front of him. The dense white light was just like the daytime sun that shrouded towards the approaching Miracle Dr. Bloodman. I rise from the darkness but I revel in the light. Miracle Dr. Bloodman opened up his blood wings as he charged into the holy ray illumination. Foolish. Seeing Miracle Bloodman charging in directly, Xinghua remarked with contempt. Hehe. You are the foolish one. Trash. You dare to play hero here with just this level of strength? A miracle doctor of an emperor class force is just at this level? Vulgarities and insults sounded at this moment, shocking everyone. Jay. Chapter 251. Never see a pretty girl before. Boom! As the voice of Miracle Dr. Bloodman trailed off, the holy ray illumination displayed by Miracle Dr. Xinghua was suddenly flushed with blood. The holy light encompassing a radius of 5 meters was stained with a bloody color. Hayak! Miracle Dr. Bloodman let out a clap of wild laughter as he charged swiftly and ferociously towards Xinghua. How did this happen? Xinghua was horrified as he watched the Miracle Dr. Bloodman charging at him with disbelief. Cheap old man, you lost. Miracle Dr. Bloodman was thrilled. His nails were long, exuding a glistening bloody mist. Why weren't you punished by the holy light? Xinghua was appalled as he raised the staff in his hand and struck heavily at the Miracle Dr. Bloodman. Because you're too weak. Miracle Dr. Bloodman slashed at Xinghua's staff. The absence of the limiting effect from 2 different attributes freaked Xinghua out. Logically speaking, the holy light emitted from his staff should have dissolved the blood in Miracle Dr. Bloodman. But nothing happened. On the contrary, he realized the other party was undaunted by the power of holy light. Incredible! That Miracle Dr. Bloodman is incredible! Domineering. Both of them are simply domineering. Xinghua lives up to his name with his daunting combat ability. That holy ray illumination looked like it could purify me in one go. That vampire was more formidable. Wasn't the holy light supposed to suppress vampires? Why is he badly beaten up now? Everyone around spectated the duel with disbelief. This was another kind of combat of medical skills. Interesting. The battle between Xiao Hong and Shang Hua felt like combat between two mages, said Wang Xian with a smile, as he could tell that Miracle Dr. Bloodman had suppressed Shang Hua completely. Young master, the art of cultivation in Euramerica is like this. In ancient Europe they have knights, mages, and witches just like our ancient martial arts experts. They may have different cultivation systems, but they are ultimately similar too. Mo Qinglong explained to Wang Xian. They have mages and knights in Euramerica. Shanghua and Miracle Dr. Bloodman were more of mages who attack with elements. However, Miracle Dr. Bloodman had a stronger physique. Besides, Mo Qinglong paused for a moment. Euramerica has the most comprehensive cultivation system. They have many experts that are much more formidable than our side. Really? Wang Xian was slightly taken aback as he looked at Mo Qinglong. Mo Qinglong nodded. The ancient martial artist families in the underworld like to keep to themselves. They don't share their skills with outsiders. Hence, many secret manuals that contain powerful skills were lost. However, they have a more complete inheritance system in Euramerica. Take Xinghua's holy light for instance. If he has a chance to practice a higher level of cultivation, Miracle Dr. Bloodman has an equal chance too. But such cultivation arts can only be found in sacred sects here in the underworld. Mo Qinglong spoke as though he was reminiscing. When spiritual treasures were spotted in spiritual mountains in the underworld, the news was leaked, drawing many powerful forces from overseas to compete for them. In the end, we lost them to someone else in our territory. Wang Xian nodded his head slowly. He may not have understood other places, but not many experts were found in the underworld. Most of them were concentrated in sacred sects. Like Flame Palace who just got promoted, they already had dozens of inborn experts. Those long-standing sacred sects should be even stronger. Maybe they possessed a more high-class combat ability. You're gone. At this time the haughty voice of Miracle Dr. Bloodman was heard. Wang Xian looked over. He saw Miracle Dr. Bloodman tearing Shanghua with a bloody claw, leaving deep bloody marks on him. Shanghua was pale-looking. Immense bright energy healed the injuries on his body. But his face was grim as the thick blood was constantly absorbing the energy from his body. Haha! Shanghua, are you convinced now? Miracle Dr. Bloodman stood in front of him with a cocky face. He looked just like a villain when he stood tall and high, overlooking Miracle Dr. Shanghua. Upon seeing his stance, Shanghua had a dreadful expression. Even his body was jittery. Geez, that's too strong. That vampire was tough. I think even the two inborn experts may not be a match for this vampire. Their art of cultivation is compelling. Given our techniques, inborn experts can only take flight in the sky for a short moment. Yet, they can form wings, and even battle in the air with their cultivation arts. Read more chapter on VIP novel. What they practiced was magic, using a special way to perform remote attacks with their spiritual strength. The experts in the underworld are more proficient in using weapons such as swords and sabers. Each has their own strengths. The crowd, including inborn experts, exclaimed too. By the way, the vampire seemed to mention that his master is a friend of Miracle Dr. Wang. He has a master? Suddenly, some people realized something. That vampire had said he has a master before his fight just now. His master? Such an existence like him as a master. Everyone was stupefied. Does such a daunting existence actually have a master? Then how domineering could his master be? Beyond imagination. Back at Fengyang family, Fengyang Lai could not believe it. He was wiping cold sweat that broke out on his forehead with a tissue paper. I admit defeat, Shanghua said with a low voice and grave expression as he clenched his fist tightly. Haha, great that you admit defeat. Don't be arrogant and keep a low profile. Do you get it? Miracle Dr. Bloodman educated Shanghua with a conceited face. Hayak. Subsequently, Miracle Dr. Bloodman burst out laughing. With a swift movement, he darted to Sun Lingxiu like a bloody shadow. Master, how did I do? Am I not impressive? Miracle Dr. Bloodman lifted his chin and asked Sun Lingxiu just like an elementary student who just got first in his class. Not bad. Sun Lingxiu praised him without much emotion except drawing a faint smile on her face. Gulp. All the people, including the disciples from Flame Palace, cast their glances over there in disbelief. They could not help but gulp. That pure and holistic girl is the master of the vampire. Gosh, this. What a pure and holy goddess. Her demeanor is impressive. Given the temperament she exhibited, she seems like a fairy from heaven. Is she a princess from some sacred sects or sacred clans? Gosh, she's the master of the vampire. Given her demeanor, she doesn't seem to be groomed by any average forces. Besides, the fairy doesn't seem to be weak. The super cocky and domineering vampire is acting like a child, waiting to be praised over here. This. Everyone was shocked to see this. Even the 4 elders from Flame Palace looked at Sun Lingxiu with grave expressions. What kind of backings did she have for the mighty vampire to be a slave to her? Or what strength did she possess? What are you looking at? Never see a pretty girl before? Miracle Dr. Bloodman stared and chided those people who were staring at them. Chapter 252. Conduct yourself well. Shocking. Everyone looked at them with shock and disbelief. Seeing how arrogant and savage Miracle Dr. Bloodman was, the crowd quickly averted their gazes. Only the 4 elders in the central location continued staring. However, they were clearly embarrassed and infuriated. The Flame Palace had truly been embarrassed today. A disciple of Flame Palace was completely thrashed by a saintess of a second-class force. The saint and saintess of Flame Palace were easily crushed by a rogue cultivator. The one who had defeated them was extremely arrogant. Flame Palace couldn't do anything, as they were concerned about how others would view them. Inborn experts tried to stick up for them, but were forced to back away by 2 other inborn experts. And now Miracle Dr. Shanghua, whom the palace master had invited personally, was defeated by an unknown vampire. In quick succession, one after another. Initially, Flame Palace wanted to make use of this opportunity to recruit disciples and experts while displaying their might. However, the outcome was beyond their expectations as they were humiliated consecutively. This made the 4 elders of the Flame Palace unusually furious. It's all because of that guy. The 4 elders looked at Wang Xian, who was below the stage. Strong killing intent leaked out from their gazes. If it wasn't for Miracle Dr. Wang, how would Flame Palace be humiliated as such? How would their disciples and miracle doctors be defeated in quick succession? He deserves death for tarnishing the reputation of Flame Palace. Elder Lu directed his voice softly to the other 3 elders around him. Our Flame Palace shouldn't just take this humiliation. There's only one outcome for him for offending us. Kill. He's just a small miracle doctor no matter how many strong experts surround him. The reputation and name of Flame Palace aren't things that can be infringed upon. The other 3 elders replied coldly immediately. What Miracle Dr. Wang had done today was deserving of 10,000 deaths in their eyes. Call upon a few other elders tomorrow. We shall announce the Flame Palace's killing order, and we must definitely kill him. Elder Lu was filled with killing intent. His gaze swept across Maniac Ji and Mo Yuan Wuxia in the crowd. If it wasn't for the fact that they were wary of how others might view them, they would have struck right away. For those who wish to join our Flame Palace, Level 8 martial artists and above can apply for direct enrollment. Elder Lu looked to the surrounding crowd and said solemnly with an expressionless face, "Today, the selection of disciples for Flame Palace shall end here." What? It's ending so quickly? It's just been 2 hours and they are ending it now? This. The surrounding crowd was taken aback as they had not expected the Elder of Flame Palace to announce the end so quickly. This might be due to. Some people looked to where Wang Xian was as their eyes lit up. Flame Palace wanted to display the might and authority of a sacred sect today. In the end, they got a tight and ruthless slap from Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. Their disciple, saint and saintess were defeated. Even the miracle doctor that their Flame Palace had invited personally was defeated. Nonetheless, the connections that Miracle Dr. Wang had displayed greatly shocked the crowd. In fact, even Flame Palace did not act hastily and swallowed their grievances. However, Flame Palace won't just let this go. As a newly crowned sacred sect, they will definitely return the humiliation they suffered tenfold over. Otherwise, their authority would be non-existent. The surrounding crowd thought to themselves, "Miracle Dr. Wang, our Flame Palace will remember the incidents of today." As many had expected, the voice of the elders of Flame Palace sounded at this moment. Elder Lu stared coldly at Wang Xian with fervent killing intent. He gritted his teeth and remarked with a gruesome expression, "Miracle Dr. Wang, I hope you conduct yourself well in the future." As he finished his sentence, his eyes swept across Maniac Ji, Mo Yuan the vampire, Sun Lingxiu and the crowd of the Thistles and Thorns sect. Indeed! When the crowd saw the cold looks of Elder Lu, they immediately understood a feud had broken out between the Flame Palace and Miracle Dr. Wang. Moreover, Miracle Dr. Wang would most likely encounter a mishap soon. "Oh!" Wang Xian revealed a smirk and replied to the elder from the Flame Palace, "You can remember it if you wish. As to how I should conduct myself, I don't need you to remind me." "Haha, great. I'm impressed by your courage. Tiske." Elder Lu laughed loudly and stared harshly at Wang Xian before turning around and left. The other elders also gave Wang Xian cold looks before heading towards the depths of Wuduan Mountain. In the middle of the field, the disciples of Flame Palace also looked fiercely at Wang Xian. "Cultivate diligently when you get back. Those who offend the Flame Palace will definitely die." The saint Mo Songhai glanced at Mo Wuxia sternly and sneered. In the middle of the field, Mu Wanwan gritted her teeth as she looked to Xiaoyu before rejoining the group of disciples of Flame Palace shamefully. The group of disciples of Flame Palace left shortly after. Around them, everyone intentionally and unintentionally looked towards Wang Xian as they whispered among themselves. Within Lingyue sect, the sect leader of Lingyue sect was looking extremely displeased. Not only did they fail to get on the good books of the Flame Palace, but they had also offended strong enemies today. Luckily, the Flame Palace will eliminate Wang Xian and the other two inborn experts. Otherwise, we would be in trouble. The sect leader of Lingyue sect glowered at Wang Xian before leading the crowd of Lingyue sect and leaving. Around them, various sects and families also started leaving one after another. The outcome of today's pilgrimage was something they had not expected. They were shocked to see someone humiliating a sacred sect during their pilgrimage. Look out for news on Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown for the next few days. I believe Flame Palace will strike within the next 2 days. He should be dead soon. Even if he has great strength and can summon 3 to 4 inborn experts, it would be futile if a sacred sect wished to target a factionless doctor like him. This Miracle Dr. Wang isn't rational to go against an entire sacred sect. He's likely going to be dead soon. Around them, some sects and families whispered softly as they left. "Oh, brother." Xiaoyu walked towards Wang Xian with a blushing face and greeted him softly. "Your performance was pretty good." Wang Xian caressed her head and gave his compliments. "King." Mo Wuxia walked over and greeted Wang Xian respectfully. "Yeah." Wang Xian looked at Mo Wuxia and nodded his head. "Just continue with your own journey." "Yes, King." Mo Wuxia nodded his head. After paying respects to Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan, he turned around and left. Miracle Dr. Wang. At this moment, Maniac Ji and sect leader Tang had also walked over and greeted him solemnly. "Miracle Dr. Wang, Flame Palace will definitely not let the events of today rest. I'm afraid of what's coming next." Sect leader Tang frowned and reminded Wang Xian. "I understand." Wang Xian nodded his head and a cold flash of light blitzed past his eyes. "Sect leader Tang, you don't have to worry about this. Conduct myself well? I naturally will do as I see fit." Wang Xian's eyes flickered. Considering what Flame Palace would do next, if he wished to do as he deemed fit, it would be to strike first. Sacred sect, Flame Palace. Let me show you what I'm capable of. Chapter 253. The autumn wind blows and the flames extinguished. 1. Shuqing, you'll return to the villa with Elder Fang and Xiaoyu. said Wang Xian to Xuqing and Xiaoyu when the sects and families gradually dispersed from the square in Wuduan Mountain. Xiao Xian, Xuqing bit her tongue. Be careful. Don't worry. Wang Xian caressed Guan Xuqing's head with confidence. He beamed at sect leader Tang. I hope sect leader Tang can send them back. Rest assured, Miracle Dr. Wang. Sect leader Tang cupped his fist and assured him. Wang Xian nodded and waved goodbye to Guan Xuqing and Xiaoyu. Brother, come back soon. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Don't worry. Wang Xian smiled and nodded. Miracle Dr. Wang, do you intend to strike Flame Palace? After Xiaoyu and Guan Xuqing were gone, Maniac Ji looked at Wang Xian and asked with a solemn expression. Even if we don't, they'll still strike at us. Wang Xian smiled impassively. He turned to Mo Yuan. Where is the base camp of Flame Palace? We'll exterminate them today. At the foot of Fiery Rock Mountain, which is more than 100 kilometers away from here. Mo Yuan answered. Maniac Ji was a little taken aback when Wang Xian took it so easily when he said they were going to exterminate them. Let's go over there. Wang Xian did not have the slightest hesitation, since he decided he would execute immediately. Yes. Mo Yuan nodded. Shall we gather the disciples of Dragon Sect? No need. We're good enough. Wang Xian smiled and Mo Yuan nodded. He immediately went to look for a vehicle. Master, just a few of us are going to strike an Emperor-class family? Isn't it too few of us? Miracle Dr. Bloodman at the side whispered his question to Sun Lingxiu. Following Xiao Xian will do, said Sun Lingxiu nonchalantly. Miracle Dr. Bloodman pouted and kept quiet. He stood respectfully by the side as he sized up Wang Xian and the rest. They had one more inborn expert, which made it 6 in total. To exterminate an Emperor-class force with 6 inborn experts was wishful thinking. The vehicle drove to Fiery Rock Mountain, which was a renowned mountain range of Dongqing Province. Fiery Rock Mountain was a colossal active volcano. One could see the rising smoke in the sky from far away. The temperature was higher than in other regions by a few degrees. Volcanoes did not necessarily have magma rumbling underneath. In fact, many volcanoes had now turned into tourist attractions. Flame Palace Sacred Sect did not turn into one such scenic spot, but the scenery was not any inferior to the rest of the beautiful scenic spots. The base camp of Flame Palace is situated on the main peak. The surrounding mountains were for the elders and some disciples. There are 23 peaks in total, out of which only the main one is connected to the underground volcano. I heard it is the sacred ground for the cultivation of their disciples. Mo Yuan did an introduction to Wang Xian as the vehicle entered the Flame City. As soon as they arrived in the city, they saw the volcanoes far away. Let's find a place to have dinner. We'll go over after sunset, Wang Xian said with a smile after looking at the time. Yes, Dragon King. Mo Yuan nodded as he instructed the driver to drive them to the best restaurant in Flame City. Flame City may have been a small city, but it came with a rich historical heritage. Flaming Flower Restaurant was the best restaurant in Flame City. All their dishes were put together with the various wild animals hunted from the volcano mountains. The group of 6 people went into the restaurant and sat in the main hall of the restaurant. Flaming Flower Restaurant may not have been big, but it looked posh. Sir, we serve the tastiest wild vegetables and meat here. Please try it. Wang Xian and the rest sat down, and the service staff served their dishes warmly not long after. Oh, Chinese cuisine is impressive. Miracle Dr. Bloodman sat beside Sun Lingxiu and put a thumb up to compliment. That's true. Chinese cuisine is the best in the world. Mo Yuan chuckled. Not only do we have delicacies, but we also have pretty girls too. At this time a quirky voice was heard. It was a distinctive voice that sounded frivolous and dissolute. Her. Mo Yuan and Miracle Dr. Bloodman raised their eyebrows as soon as they heard the remark. They immediately turned to look over to their side. 10 odd-looking men. The 2 tables beside them sat queer people with 7 old men, 2 middle-aged men, and 1 young man. They were all foreigners. The 7 old men had big builds and wore oversized clothes. They exuded an extraordinary demeanor. The old men seemed to be people who had just come out from seclusion. The 2 middle-aged men were ordinary-looking. The young man who spoke was a blonde hunk. Eat your food and shut up. Stop disgracing the foreigners. When Miracle Dr. Bloodman noticed the blonde hunk was staring at his own master, he glowered at him. The blonde hunk did not mind him and giggled, "Chinese girl's good skin. Boss, bring all your best dishes here." Just then, a sharp voice was heard from the outside. "Coming. Gentlemen, this way please." Immediately, a middle-aged man in a suit greeted them quickly with reverence. "Gentlemen, please have a seat here." The restaurant manager quickly ushered the 4 people inside. "I heard the news from Wuduan Mountain that a fellow ruined our pilgrimage this time. Yes, several elders already rushed over here. Even Palace Master found out about this." "Hey, looks like someone is digging his own grave." The 4 gentlemen had outstanding bearings. They lifted their chins as though they were condescending someone as they discussed this briefly. Wang Xian and the group's attention was drawn by the conversations between the 4 young men. They turned around and ignored the young blonde foreigner. "Boss, get us some wine." A young man instructed the middle-aged man in front of him. "If he dares to offend us, he will need to pay a heavy price. We can establish our reputation at the same time." "That's right. Who within the 5 provinces dares to provoke us? He's obviously asking for it. I heard he's a factionless doctor. Haha." The 4 young men continued their conversations at a table beside Wang Xian and the rest, who smiled as they exchanged glances. The 4 young men must be disciples from Flame Palace. They enjoyed their drinks and exchanged conversations boomingly without any restraint. "I heard our Mu Wanwan was wounded. We must check her out tonight. This fellow is up to no good again. But Mu Wanwan was too haughty. She's difficult. You should find yourself other targets." The young men were exchanging conversations when one of them spotted Sun Lingxiu suddenly. He was slightly stunned as a tinge of passion flashed in his eyes. The saying, "Women are like disasters," was right. This was especially true for pretty ladies. That young man stood up in amazement. "Pretty, are you from Flame City?" Chapter 254. The autumn wind blows and the flames extinguished too. Just as Sun Lingxiu was eating, a young man walked over and asked her a question directly. This made her knit her eyebrows a little. "Scram and go eat while you can, rascal." Seeing others offending his master again, Miracle Dr. Bloodman lifted his head and chided coldly. "Huh." The response of Miracle Dr. Bloodman immediately stunned the Flame Palace disciple who came to strike a conversation. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He was a disciple of a sacred sect. Furthermore, the group was in their territory. How dare he call him a rascal? "You better choose your words wisely, foreigner. Otherwise, I'll make things difficult for you." The young man stared harshly at Miracle Dr. Bloodman and pointed at him. "You guys better be honest here. Otherwise, I'll let you know whose territory you are in." At this moment, an appropriate thing to say in Chinese would be "rescuing the damsel in distress." A voice with a similar accent to Miracle Dr. Bloodman sounded once again. Following which, a palm suddenly appeared on the shoulder of the young man from Flame Palace. "Hey beauty, this guy is a crook. Now that I have taught him a lesson your behalf, are you going to pledge to marry me in gratitude?" The good-looking guy with blonde hair smiled and looked towards where Sun Lingxiu was. His lips curved into a smile as he gave Sun Lingxiu dirty looks. "You must be courting death." The young man from Flame Palace, whose shoulder was being held, growled angrily. He clenched his fist tightly and charged towards the good-looking guy with blonde hair. However, just as the young man threw a punch, his body suddenly started trembling violently. He stared at the good-looking guy with blonde hair in front of him with disbelief and shock. "What the? How dare you cause troubles in our territory? Damn it! There are more and more people who wish to die here." The other disciples of Flame Palace stood up immediately and gave the good-looking guy with blonde hair an icy glare. Just a few trash and yet you dare to speak to me like this?" The good-looking guy with blonde hair turned over and said mockingly. A strong aura swept quickly towards the 4 young men from Flame Palace. "You!" The 4 disciples from Flame Palace choked from the stifling pressure. Their faces turned red quickly as they could only stare at him with their eyes wide open. Scram! With a light push from the good-looking guy with blonde hair, the young man from Flame Palace was knocked back onto the chair behind him. The 4 disciples of Flame Palace were filled with fear and anger instantly as they could only stare with deadly looks at the good-looking guy with blonde hair. I love to see your angry looks. The good-looking golden hair looked at the 4 disciples of Flame Palace as though he was admiring a piece of art. In a light-hearted tone he continued, "But I'd love to see your despairing looks even more. Oh, this should be quick. Hung Wang, it's time to go." At this moment, an old man a short distance away spoke plainly to the good-looking guy with blonde hair. "Haha, you don't even allow me to enjoy myself a little." The good-looking guy with blonde hair smiled at them, turned around and said to Sun Lingxiu, "Hey beauty, I saved you a while ago. Aren't you going to pledge to marry me?" As he spoke, he tapped once at the void space between them before leaving with the group of old and middle-aged men. Behind them, the 4 disciples of Flame Palace glowered at them but didn't dare to give chase. The stifling pressure they felt from the young man with blonde hair had made them experience fear. Interesting. Wang Xian looked at the 10 foreigners before turning to Sun Lingxiu. Sun Lingxiu's eyes lit up as she lifted her right hand and grabbed something off her body. A red flame appeared in her hand. "Do you recognize them?" She looked to Miracle Dr. Bloodman beside her and asked. "This mark." Miracle Dr. Bloodman frowned slightly and answered, "Flame. There are a few Emperor-class forces internationally that specialize in flames." From how they addressed the young man with blonde hair, he must be Hung Wang from the Fire God denomination. He frowned and squinted his eyes at the disappearing figures of old and middle-aged men. "They are all inborn realm experts," commented Wang Xian plainly. "What?" Mo Yuan, Maniac Ji and the others were shocked. "All of them are inborn realm experts. There are 10 of them. What are they here for?" Mo Qinglong frowned and mumbled. Wang Xian looked at the embarrassed and furious disciples from Flame Palace leaving with gloomy expressions before he smirked and said, "It should be related to the Flame Palace. Moreover, they aren't friendly." "They aren't friendly." Mo Qinglong and the rest were shocked and quickly sank into thoughts. "I know a little about the Fire God denomination. They aren't any weaker than our sacred sects. In fact, they are a lot stronger than the newly crowned sacred sect. They are here for..." Doubt surfaced on Mo Qinglong's face. "Perhaps tonight will be an interesting night," replied Wang Xian with a laugh. "How dare he place a tracking flame on my master? If I see the blonde rascal again, I will kill him." Miracle Dr. Bloodman spoke with intense killing intent. Oh, night. The summer had passed and the autumn wind was soughing. The fiery rock mountain was still glowing in a faint light. It was especially so at the main peak. At night, the volcano was shrouded in a red glow that made it exceptionally beautiful. 6 figures descended on a tree, 1,000 meters from the entrance silently and waited patiently. "Miracle Dr. Wang, it's already 9 p.m. Let's split up to ambush and kill the elders on each peak before they guard against us. Even if we can't annihilate the Flame Palace, we can also make them suffer grave losses." Maniac Ji looked at Wang Xian and suggested, "No rush. Let's wait and see." Wang Xian waved his hand at him. He continued standing silently while staring at Flame Palace. Maniac Ji was confused but still waited patiently. Time passed slowly and it was soon 10 p.m. Suddenly, 10 figures appeared from afar. They were moving rapidly like a gust of wind and carried with them an intense and violent aura. "It's them. The 10 inborn experts from the restaurant. They are indeed here." Maniac Ji looked solemnly across at the 10 inborn experts. The 10 of them didn't attempt to hide themselves at all. Each of the 10 figures was glowing and approaching the Flame Palace like a meteor. How arrogant of them to charge into the Flame Palace so openly. What are they trying to do? Mo Qinglong frowned and asked. "Hua Yu of Flame Palace and Shanghua, get here right away. How dare you guys steal the treasure of our Fire God denomination? Today we will definitely annihilate the entire Flame Palace." A majestic voice propagated throughout the entire Flame Palace and resounded within the fiery rock mountain. A small flame palace stole the treasures of Fire God denomination to become a sacred sect in the east. "Hey, today we will annihilate you. A brazen voice sounded once again. In the skies above the main peak, the figures of the 10 inborn experts from the fire god denomination were well illuminated by the flames they emitted. Wings made of flames sprouted behind their backs. 10 of them had completely sealed off the entire flame palace. They weren't concerned about Flame Palace having more inborn experts than them at all. Neither were they fearful of Flame Palace. An arrogant, domineering and majestic voice and aura shrouded the entire Flame Palace. Chapter 255. The autumn wind blows and the flames extinguished. 3. Who is it? Who dares to play punk in Flame Palace? Who is it? Who dares to clamor at sacred sect? The resounding voice shook up the entire Flame Palace. All the disciples walked out of their rooms as they bellowed in anger. They enjoyed the utmost glory after they were promoted from a first-class force to a sacred sect. Everyone treated disciples of Flame Palace with respect, and none of them dared to be rude to them. Now someone dared to talk big at the Flame Palace. That was as good as digging their own graves. Gosh, there are 10 people in the air. Air? Every Flame Palace disciple was surprised as they looked up towards the main peak. It's true. 10 people with huge flaming wings on their backs. They are inborn experts. 10 inborn experts. Gosh, 10 of them. So what? We have 14 inborn experts guarding the Flame Palace now. All the disciples said with trepidation as they looked over. Who dares to play punk in Flame Palace? Fire God denomination? How dare you barge onto the sacred ground of Flame Palace? You guys definitely have a death wish. One by one, figures sprouted out from each of the peaks, shouting at the 10 inborn experts of Fire God denomination in the sky. Fire God denomination? Any capable man can retrieve the spiritual treasures. How dare you barge into Flame Palace with just 10 people? I guess you're here to die. An old man's voice cut the air from the main peak. He had a pair of enormous wings behind him, and he held a flaming spear as though he was a flame warrior. I didn't think you guys would chase all the way here. Looks like you're not giving up. Xinghua's voice was heard too. He flapped the glowing feathered wings and glowered at the people from Fire God denomination. He then flapped towards the palace master of Flame Palace. Flame Palace experts arrived at the back of their palace master. Instantly, 14 inborn experts stood at the back and glared at the Fire God denomination in front of them with sharp and cold eyes. Get out of Flame Palace now. Otherwise, leave your bodies here. Palace Master of Flame Palace, who was in the center spot, glared with a pair of cold eyes. He fixed his eyes on the 10 people with seriousness climbing all over his face. We'll leave after we annihilate you people. One of the old men from the Fire God denomination in the middle chuckled with a ghastly sound. How dare you steal our things and kill a Prince Realm expert? Today, I'll use your flesh and blood as offerings to him. I see. You're here to offer us your lives. Do you think you can annihilate us with just 10 people? The Flame Palace is fearless even if you send the entire Fire God denomination over. Palace Master of Flame Palace looked fixedly at them with a darkened expression. Haha, all of you are trash. 5 exploratory inborn experts? I can kill 2 without any problem. Why do we need the entire Fire God denomination here? The blonde-haired young man at the side was looking cool. He stared at the elders of Flame Palace insolently. Kill them all and reclaim our treasures. The old man in the lead stopped the useless talking and made a swift move. His movement was accompanied by a powerful flame that struck directly at the Palace Master of Flame Palace. Kill! Palace Master and Shanghua had awful looks when they saw 10 experts charging at them. They knew the strength of Fire God denomination. Therefore they had grave expressions. Besiege and wipe them out. The Palace Master bellowed and made a move. His body was shrouded in flames as he darted out to attack the old man at the center. How dare an insignificant pinnacle inborn create a sacred sect? Die! The old man in the middle jerked, and a virtual image of a fire demon appeared on him. The fire demon that was formed with flames encompassed the old man, who grew 3 meters tall. Go to hell! The old man swung his enormous fist with daunting strength at the Palace Master. So strong! He raised his flaming spear to block, but he was pushed back a dozen meters. Palace Master had a sharp change in his expression as his eyes were filled with horror. Ah! Yet a desperate scream was heard from the side in that instant. A blue flame shrouded a Flame Palace elder. The creepy blue flame burnt that elder immediately. The elder tried to use his flaming ability to counterattack, but his fiery red flame seemed like a stimulant that ignited a bigger blue fire. A horrifying scream struck consternation in all the people in Flame Palace. In an instant, an elder of Flame Palace was seriously wounded or probably dead. All these things happened in a split second. How is this possible? How could they kill an elder in an instant? It's a raid. They are sneaking an attack. When our palace master realizes it, they can wipe us out even if it's 10 against 13. All the disciples of Flame Palace exclaimed from below. They found it unbelievable that a dozen inborn experts of Flame Palace could not defend the other party with 10 inborn experts. Heavenly Flame. Palace Master was shocked as his expression turned grave immediately. How dare you steal our spiritual treasures? I'll make sure the Flame Palace is wiped out today. The old man who displayed the heavenly flame was looking cold. The blue-colored flame was burning around him. Even the air gave off a loud sound. Make it quick and kill them all. An old man from Fire God denomination shouted as he burst into a giant ball of fire. His entire body was on fire. He swung his arm and blasted a basketball-sized fireball at the Flame Palace elder in front of him. The Flame Palace elder wielded his machete and hacked the ball of fire. Bam! However, metal-like fire droplets fired off a radius of 100 meters from the exploded ball of fire. Ah! At the same time, the disciples of Flame Palace screamed in horror from below. The fire droplets penetrated level 7 and 8 martial artists, and the mightiness of the fire struck terror into them. The spillover fire from the combat burned the surrounding woods. Oh no! Palace Master and the elders had the shock of their lives. The moment their opponent struck, their hearts already skipped a beat. Go to hell! The blonde-haired young man held a red scepter, firing off tongues of blazing flames at the elders of Flame Palace. Terrifying stance. Ho! Flame Palace elders held their weapons and slashed those flames. Haha! Kill them all. How dare a reserved place snatch Fire God denomination's staff? Die! At this time, one middle-aged man from Fire God denomination picked up his flaming spear and sprinted over. The blazing fire was burning atop Flame Palace. Such a sight was spectacular from afar. The gap is huge. As a force for 100 years, Fire God denomination is definitely far more powerful than the Flame Palace. These 10 experts from Fire God denomination were inborn experts with a strong foundation. Those exploratory inborn experts from Flame Palace could not hold a candle to them. The Flame Palace is going down soon, said Maniac GNMO Yuan shockingly as Wang Xian and the rest witnessed this from far. Heavenly Flame. Looks like we have a lot of good stuff here. A tinge of red sparks flashed in Wang Xian's eyes as he was ebullient. I haven't struck for a long time. Chapter 256. The autumn wind blows and the flames extinguished for. Art. So strong. How could this group of people be that strong? The heat emitted by that blue flame is really spooky. Shit. Elder Lu is hit and injured. Should we run? Should we? Fiery Rock Mountain Flame Palace. At this moment, it was as though Armageddon had descended on Flame Palace. In the skies, inborn experts were engaged in intense battles. Flames were raging and illuminated the skies. The shockwaves from the battles of inborn experts affected the entire Flame Palace. Sparks were fluttering. Scorching hot fire dripped down like melted metal. Even a level 7 and 8 martial artist had to dodge carefully. Blue flames were shot out from the sky. Once in contact, it would quickly reduce everything to ashes. In the air, the elders of Flame Palace were injured one after another. The disciples watched from below in shock and disbelief. They were from the sacred sect, a newly crowned sacred sect. They were supposed to be the strongest and the highest-tiered existence around. However, a group of foreigners had barged in and was slowly annihilating them. How could this be happening? Fire God denomination. Get lost from our flame palace immediately or none of you are getting away. The palace master of Flame Place stared intensely at the group in front of him and growled loudly as he started noticing his elders falling one after another due to grave injuries. Huatu, you have to pay the price for stealing the spiritual treasure of the Fire God denomination. Not letting us leave? You aren't that capable yet. Opposite the palace master of Flame Palace, the old man covered in 3-meter-tall flame remarked coldly, "Today, I'll not let anyone in Flame Palace get away." Art. While the old man was speaking, another shriek of pain sounded from the side. The palace master of Flame Palace looked bitterly to his left. You guys deserve death. Anger filled his eyes as he witnessed an elder hit by the blue flame and slowly reduced to ashes. In just 10 minutes, 3 elders were severely injured and 1 was killed. If this went on, the Flame Palace may very well be annihilated. The palace master of Flame Palace gritted his teeth and the long spear in his hand shivered with his body. He declared solemnly, "Since you guys are eager to die, I shall grant you the wish." Swish! A human head-sized ball flew out of the Flame Palace suddenly. In the night skies it was just like the scorching hot sun. None of you are getting away after killing an elder from the Flame Palace. The human head-sized flame ball flew above him and emitted a scorching hot radiance. Spiritual flame ball. It's the body-refining spiritual flame ball. The group of experts from the Fire God denomination stared at the spiritual flame ball above the palace master of Flame Palace fervently. Body-refining spiritual flame ball. It could refine the bodies of fire cultivators and trigger resonance. It could also increase the battle prowess of fire cultivators. Huatu, this is the spiritual treasure you have stolen from the Fire God denomination. The old man opposite the palace master of Flame Palace stared at that body-refining spiritual flame ball intensely. Haha, spiritual treasures can be possessed by any capable person. The palace master of Flame Palace laughed wildly before staring coldly at the group. Killing a Prince Realm expert from the Fire God denomination, stealing our spiritual flame ball. Do you think we will let you off? The old man shrouded in giant flames smirked and remarked, "Do you think we have come unprepared? Haha, a sacred sect that has been established for over 100 years isn't something a small flame palace like yours could imagine. You are digging your own grave." The young man with blonde hair laughed hysterically. He opened up his palm and a fist-sized ball was revealed on his palm. The ball seemed to have been sealed by a lava-like object. Dense flames flooded into the ball. At this moment, cracks started appearing on the exterior layer of the ball, and a violent aura started emanating from it. Lava ball. This is a lava ball that was formed 100 meters below the lava. Today, I will reduce you to ashes with it. Hung Wang revealed a thrilled look. There seemed to be lava flowing on the surface of the lava ball. In an instant, the surrounding temperature increased by several dozens of degrees. Luckily, everyone around was a fire cultivator. If they were ordinary men, they would likely be roasted to death by the high temperature. Die! Hung Wang waved his hand and the lava ball was thrown towards the palace master of Flame Palace at an astonishing speed. Huh! When the palace master of Flame Palace saw the ball that was emitting astonishing heat, his face sank and he growled loudly, "Break!" His body shivered and flames started flowing into his body through his head from the body-refining spiritual flame ball. Flames circulated in his body before appearing in his hands. A 4 to 5 meters thick fire pillar shot towards the lava ball. Kill! The instant the palace master of Flame Palace stopped the lava ball, the old man opposite him immediately attacked. Kill! 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 The group of experts from the Fire God denomination launched their attack once again as strong and horrifying powers shrouded the skies. Flames were raging and dangers were everywhere. Run, we've got to run. Our flame palace might really be finished. On the ground, seeing that the palace master of Flame Palace was being besieged once again, the faces of the group of disciples turned as white as sheets and perspiration started streaming down their faces. Some disciples who weren't as brave had already started fleeing silently. Art! Art! Suddenly, 2 shrieks pierced the atmosphere. When the disciples looked over, fear gripped them immediately. Miracle Dr. Shanghua and another elder were slain. 4 elders were severely injured and on the brink of death while 3 others had been killed. The Flame Palace's situation was perilous. If it wasn't for the spiritual flame ball above the Palace Master's head that allowed him to fight with 3 experts at the same time, Flame Palace would have likely been defeated by now. The Palace Master can't hold on for much longer. An attendant of the Fire Palace shivered in fear upon seeing his Palace Master being besieged by several experts. "Run!" Shrieks of horror sounded from everywhere. He gritted his teeth and started fleeing. "Run!" When the first person started fleeing, more and more followed. This made the group of elders of the Flame Palace extremely embarrassed. However, they couldn't say anything. Battles between inborn experts weren't something they could interfere with. "Haha, all of you shall die." In the skies, an expert from the Fire God denomination flapped his fire wings rapidly and violently. Flames started dripping down towards the escaping disciples. Arg arg arg. In just an instant, more than a dozen disciples were hit as they cried out pitifully. "Run! Quick! Run!" The entire Flame Palace was thrown into turmoil. Everyone was trying to flee and cries could be heard everywhere. It was as though it was the end of the world. In the skies, the elders of the Flame Palace shivered in fear. They weren't a match for their opponents at all. "Palace Master, who have you offended?" The elders of the Flame Palace were devastated. "Palace Master Huatu, we have joined Flame Palace for protection, not to seek our doom. Please forgive us for not being able to stay with the Flame Palace." At this moment, 2 inborn experts started fleeing, to the astonishment of Flame Palace. "Scumbags!" The Palace Master of the Flame Palace shivered in anger as he witnessed 2 inborn experts that had joined them previously fleeing. Flame Palace is finished. Chapter 257, Dragon Ball vs. Flames. 1. Flame Palace is finished. The group of 6 remarked softly when they saw the chaotic Flame Palace and the fleeing disciples from afar. This could be the most tragic sacred sect, since they got annihilated as soon as they were promoted. Miracle Dr. Bloodman gloated over their misfortune. Fire God denomination is much more domineering than Flame Palace. After all, they are just a newly promoted sacred sect. If they were longtime sacred sects like Sword Celestial, Badamanda, or Medical Saint, Fire God denomination would not dare to barge in like this, said Mo Yuan at the side. Fire God denomination wouldn't dare to storm in with arrogance like this if they were Medical Saint sects, not to mention sects like Sword Celestial and Badamanda. I bet they would be killed by all the poisonous stuff at the doorstep before they even entered. Flame Palace is still too weak. Otherwise, they wouldn't have recruited experts and disciples through pilgrimage, Mo Qinglong commented nonchalantly. Sacred sects had a mixture of strong and weak sections. Medical Saint sect was one of the strongest ones. Without any guidance from the Medical Saint disciples, anyone who wished to enter the base camp of Medical Saint sect, Medical Saint Mountain, would be eliminated by their defense at the door. Just that alone was good enough to kill dozens of inborn experts. In comparison, a sacred sect like Flame Palace that had no foundation would not have set up any defense at the entrance. Any inborn experts could enter easily. Palace Master of Flame Palace is in danger. Just then Maniac G was slightly shocked looking ahead. Comparing himself with the people in combat, his strength still differed by a lot. He was not a match for any experts from Fire God denomination. He's doomed. Wang Xian looked over. After the 2 new inborn experts members of Flame Palace escaped, they were left with 5 people. 5 against 10, and they were not a match even when it was one-on-one. 5 Fire God denomination experts besieged the Palace Master alone. The Palace Master is indeed formidable as he managed to survive for so long under the attacks of 5 experts. It is no wonder that he could bring Flame Palace a step higher to become a sacred sect. Maniac G exclaimed. With the spiritual flame ball above the daunting Flame Palace Palace Master, his combat ability was domineering to fight 1 against 5. But it was only a matter of time before the defeat. I cannot accept it. Flame Palace was just promoted to become a sacred sect. I cannot accept this. All of a sudden, the Palace Master's despairing and unwilling voice was heard from Flame Palace. Boom! An intense explosion resounded in the earth. The palace master, who was putting up fierce resistance, suddenly burst into flame. A fire god denomination expert did not manage to dodge in time and got hit by it. Immense fire shredded the body of that expert into pieces instantly. Alpha, a fire god denomination expert, was looking gloomy. Take that body refining spiritual flame ball with us. That thing is of great use to fire god denomination. Search around and see if they have other treasures in the flame palace. Darn it! We lost a prince realm expert. The group of fire god denomination experts bellowed with a nasty look as their voices traveled several kilometers. Run now! Even the palace master is dead now. We're finished. The flame palace has completely fallen. How did this happen? I just joined Flame Palace Sacred Sect. How can a sacred sect be annihilated? Some of the Flame Palace disciples could not believe it as they fled frantically. The group of fire god denomination experts darkened their expressions as they swung their arms. Tongues of intense flames fired off at the surrounding Flame Palace disciples. Miserable voices were heard again. The end of Flame Palace had finally arrived. Wang Xian and his people did not strike at all. They were here to exterminate Flame Palace, but someone had done the job for them. Let's go. How dare they came to our territory and play punk? I'll make sure they are buried under this ground forever. When Flame Palace was utterly destroyed, Wang Xian saw a group of experts from Fire God denomination rounding up the treasures within Flame Palace. He then jumped down from the tree with a smile. Young master, there must be a lot of treasures within Flame Palace. I bet those Fire God denomination experts have good stuff with them too. Mo Qinglong chuckled as he followed behind. What? Are we striking at the 9 people from Fire God denomination? We're not their match. Miracle Dr. Bloodman quickly remarked after hearing Mo Qinglong. I can handle at most 1 person. My master can handle 2. What about you guys? Miracle Dr. Bloodman looked at Mo Qinglong. Mo and Maniac G as he said, we can't beat them. Maniac G frowned slightly as he cast a glance at Wang Xian with doubts. Leave it to me. I haven't fought for a long time. Wang Xian smiled as he headed to the entrance without haste. They came to a path where Wang Xian stood in the middle. He opened his mouth slightly, and a fiery red fireball appeared in his hand. I wonder which is stronger, my Dragon Ball or their flame. He arched his lips. This fire Dragon Ball was nurtured all the time. Hence its power could kill an inborn expert. If I can absorb the lava ball of Fire God denomination and body refining spiritual flame ball of Flame Palace, the power of Dragon Ball will increase another level. Wang Xian revealed a smile on his face as he stood and waited for them to be out. When Miracle Dr. Bloodman and Maniac G saw Wang Xian spit out a ball of fire, they were taken aback. They gasped when they sensed the daunting amount of energy contained in the flame. Miracle Dr. Wang is a cultivator of flame too? Miracle Dr. Bloodman asked with radiance flickering in his eyes. Run. Let's flee now. We need to get out of here. Just then, a few figures rushed towards their side with haste. Fear and panic were all over their faces. Her? There's someone ahead? Get lost, you people. Darn, get out of my way. Do you want to die? About 8 or 9 Flame Palace disciples were looking frightful and malevolent. When they saw the 6 people blocking the path, they took the weapons in their hands and hacked at them immediately. Get out of my way. Several people bellowed with no signs of reducing their speed. Oh, seem like someone we know? Wang Xian cast a glance over and saw the 4 young men they had met in the afternoon. At the same time, Mu Wanwan and a few of her friends were following beside them. Hayak, a bunch of losers digging their own graves. Upon seeing them charging over, Miracle Dr. Bloodman found them funny. With an arm swing, he fired thick blood at them. It's them. Oh no, inborn experts. The bunch of people who were charging over froze for a moment. Instantly, they were struck down on the floor by the blood. Fear was the only thing left in them. How is this possible? Why are they? The moment they fell onto the ground, their eyes were filled with remorse. Trash. Miracle Dr. Bloodman said indifferently. Wang Xian cast a glance at the flame palace deep in the mountain with a pair of abstruse eyes. After 15 minutes, 9 figures showed up, walking towards them without haste. Wang Xian held his dragon ball in his hand, drawing his lips slightly. Chapter 258. Dragon Ball vs. Flames 2. Flame Palace is really trash. They only have 1,000+ spiritual stones. They have spent all their spiritual stones on increasing the ability of the body-refining spiritual flame ball. They barely have any spiritual medicine left. For a sacred sect to be this poor, they are really trash. At the entrance of Flame Palace, a few mocking voices sounded. The 9 of them each carried something as they walked out slowly. Suddenly, the 9 of them stopped. They squinted their eyes and looked ahead of them. 6 people. 6 figures were standing at the entrance and seemed to be waiting for them. Isn't that the beautiful girl from the restaurant? Hung Wang, who was standing at the right of the group, saw Sun Lingxiu and was surprised. Pretty. Are you here to offer yourself to me? Look. Take a look at how attractive I am. An arrogant voice sounded from Hung Wang as he scrutinized Sun Lingxiu from head to toe with vile eyes. Those are the people we met in the afternoon. An old man looked at the group of people in front of him and was baffled. Eventually, his gaze landed on Miracle Dr. Bloodman. Due to the cultivation arts, he wasn't able to tell the level of Wang Xian and the group. However, he was able to get some clues from Miracle Dr. Bloodman. He seems to be a vampire. As such, the remaining people shouldn't be ordinary either. How dare they wait for us here? The group of people from the Fire God denomination squinted their eyes and looked at Wang Xian's group coldly. Since you dare to kill on our land, are you all prepared to be buried here forever? Wang Xian looked plainly at them while scrutinizing the 9 of them. To wait for us here after seeing us in action. It seems like you guys are pretty brave. The old man in the center of the group stared emotionlessly at Wang Xian and flames had started flowing in his hands. We aren't as brave as you guys to come to our land and annihilate an entire sect. When Wang Xian saw them carrying something in the back, his smile grew deeper. That's nice of you to pack the treasures nicely for us. Brat, you must be seeking your own demise. The old man in the middle growled angrily. A ball of flames appeared in his hand as he launched his attack towards Wang Xian. Wang Xian was unmoved. With a flick of his finger, the dragon ball appeared in front of him. Rumble! The flames were absorbed immediately by the dragon ball the instant the flames landed on it. A fire attribute spiritual treasure. When the old man saw the dragon ball that absorbed the flames, his eyes lit up. Spiritual treasure. It's a fire attribute spiritual treasure. It seems like we are really in luck. Hung Wang saw the dragon ball suspended in the air and got excited immediately. Flame Palace has few treasures. This spiritual treasure would make up for it nicely. The old man stared at it fervently. Stretching his hand forward, flames shrouded over. The flames formed a claw made of fire as it grabbed towards the dragon ball. Annihilate all of them. A middle-aged man beside the old man charged ahead enthusiastically and attacked the group. Leave that beautiful girl to me. I've got to teach her a good lesson. Hung Wang's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. The next instant he charged towards Sun Lingxiu with desecrating eyes. Interesting. How arrogant are they? Wang Xian was clearly getting excited. Stay behind, guys. Let me handle this. Wang Xian was currently level 7. In his human form, his strength could match Dan Realm experts, which was above the inborn realm. Up to this point, he had never fought with any human inborn experts. Nonetheless, he could easily kill inborn level creatures in the sea with a single strike. Wang Xian stood there without moving. The dragon ball in front of him started glowing dazzlingly under his control. Xiao Xian, leave that young man with blonde hair to me. Sun Lingxiu shouted to Wang Xian suddenly. All right. Wang Xian was slightly shocked initially. However, eventually, he simply nodded his head as a response to Sun Lingxiu. It seems like that young man with blonde hair has really infuriated Sun Lingxiu. What a strong spiritual treasure. When the group from the fire god denomination saw the dazzling glow and felt the scorching heat from the Dragon Ball, they were shocked. "We must definitely get it. Don't let them escape." An old man from fire god denomination reminded the group loudly and enthusiastically. "Rest assured, none of them are getting away." An old man flapped his blue fire wings behind him and shifted to the side. The other experts of the fire god denomination also flapped their wings at the same time, forming a circle around Wang Xian. In their eyes they were the hunters. The other party was simply their prey. How arrogant and brazen! Wang Xian revealed a cold look upon seeing the experts from fire god denomination getting ready to hunt him. Roar! At this moment, a dragon roar pierced through the atmosphere. The surrounding experts from the fire god denomination looked on in disbelief. The Dragon Ball that was glowing dazzlingly was transforming slowly into a fire divine dragon. A fire divine dragon from the legends of the Chinese. The divine dragon was 5 meters long and vivid. At the same time it was emanating horrifying dragon aura. What? This is? What a horrifying spiritual treasure. What a powerful fire attribute spiritual treasure. Oh my god! It can transform into a divine dragon. All 9 experts from the fire god denomination stared fervently at that fire divine dragon. It was no different from a living thing. Even its eyes were extremely lively. Maniac G and Miracle Dr. Bloodman, who were standing beside Wang Xian previously, were greatly shaken as they stared blankly at the divine dragon. Haha! Kill! Kill it! The experts of the fire god denomination weren't wary at all. Instead, they charged over hysterically. "We must definitely get that spiritual treasure." Hung Wang clenched his fist tightly and charged ahead. "Your opponent is me." A soft and crisp voice sounded from Sun Lingxiu. Dense light energy emanated from her body. An arrow made of light energy appeared out of nowhere and shot towards Hung Wang. Swish! The speed of the arrow was incomparably fast. The speed of light attacks could easily match or exceed the speed of wind. The light attack disappeared in the blink of an eye. What? Hung Wang, who was shrouded in flames, was completely caught by surprise as the arrow made of light energy appeared right in front of him in an instant. He crossed his wings rapidly in front of him. However, the arrow made of light pierced through the fire wings and into his body directly. He let out a cry in pain. How is this possible? Hung Wang couldn't believe what had happened. Blood oozed out from the edge of his mouth as he stared with a deadly look at Sun Lingxiu. "Blonde trash, how dare you taunt my master? You really don't know where you stand." Miracle Dr. Bloodman was cockily satisfied upon seeing his master severely injuring Hung Wang with a single blow. "Be careful. Kill." The old man in the center looked at Sun Lingxiu before reminding the group solemnly. Roar! At this moment, the fire divine dragon roared. Its 5-meter-long body flew in circles in the air as it attacked the group of experts from the fire god denomination. Chapter 259. Dragon Ball vs. Flames 3. Do you think you can stand against us with just that spiritual treasure of yours? With a pair of icy cold eyes, the old man who was giving off blue flames jerked as soon as he saw the imposing fire divine dragon. His blue flames formed into a long spear, bursting with fire and fiery edges. "Let me slay the dragon." The old man wielded his spear and thrust at the fire divine dragon. When Wang Xian saw the old man striking at the Dragon Ball, he sneered. The Dragon Ball was almost part of his body after his nurturing. As such, the Dragon Ball possessed part of the mightiness from Divine Dragon under his control. The Fire Divine Dragon did not only have the look of a dragon, but it possessed the soul of a divine dragon. Roar! The Fire Divine Dragon stared at the old man in blue flames with a disdainful look in the corner of its eye. Immediately, it swept its tail at him. Humph! An illusory divine dragon will only restore into its original form with my sapphire flame. Blue flames continued to flicker in the eyes of the old man. He hurled the long navy spear in his hand at the dragon tail immediately. Pop, pop, pop. Suddenly loud crisp sounds were heard. The navy flaming spear fell onto the tail like an egg bashing itself on a rock. The mighty dragon tail broke the spear instantly, sweeping at the old man forcefully. What? That old man was appalled. Oh no, block it. The rest of the fire god denomination experts around him were looking slightly surprised. They fired off tongues of flames at the fire divine dragon. Two of the experts even charged at Wuxia. Roar! Fire divine dragon exhibited a contemptuous look in its eyes as it swept its invincible dragon tail. Bam! The strong fire dragon tail hit the old man with blue flames. The daunting dragon energy immediately sent him flying off, along with his agape eyes. What? The rest of the fire god denomination experts were horrified. Roar! But before they could react, the fire divine dragon spun around and hurled dragon flames at the two experts who tried to assault Wuxia. What a daunting flame! The two fire god denomination experts were aghast as they quickly dodged to somewhere far away. The tongues of flame hit the ground, causing the ground to have a 5-meter-long crack with dragon flame ignited everywhere. What a terrifying spiritual treasure! Is this even possible? The two fire god denomination experts who escaped had a dreadful look as they looked at the fissure on the ground. Penetrating light. Just then, a gentle and noble voice was heard. What? Hung Wang's horrified voice cut the surrounding air, attracting all the attention of the fire god denomination experts. They saw that Hung Wang had the lava ball in front of him. He was holding the lava ball with both his hands, forming a flaming shield with immense fire on it. The shield was blocking the beams of lights that looked like the aurora. The light rays were like inexhaustible domineering lasers passing through the flaming shield. The shield was quickly dissolving at a rate visible to the naked eye. What a formidable lady! Every fire god denomination expert was aghast. Hung Wang might have been the weakest among them all, but with the lava ball in possession, his strength was equivalent to the strongest one in the group. Yet, Hung Wang was forced to use lava ball as a defense in such a short time. Moreover, he was completely suppressed now. Die! Wuxia cast a glance at Sun Lingxiu with a smile. With the fire divine dragon under his control, the dragon scratched one fire god denomination expert with its dragon claws. Mighty dragon claws about 1/2 meter long seemed like they were tearing the void. Boom! Die! That fire god denomination expert wrapped himself with a pair of fire wings. The flame burst into a sword, thrusting at the dragon claws. Ka ka ka. However, the sword was grabbed by the dragon claws tightly. Ah! A horrifying shriek was heard. Before any blood could drip, it was already dissipated in the air. Boundless might struck unlimited terror in them. This no way! The fire god denomination experts were in disbelief. The guy only had a spiritual treasure which had transformed into a fire divine dragon. But the dragon severely injured and killed 2 of their men. They were top-notch inborn experts. Moreover, there were another 5 people from their group who had not yet made their moves. Besiege and kill that divine dragon first. An old man bawled and wrapped himself with flames. Subsequently, he turned into a 3-meter flaming giant. Another 5 fire god denomination experts surrounded the divine dragon immediately. The fireballs they fired were absorbed by the fire divine dragon immediately. The fire rings that they chained on the neck of the dragon were melted straight away. Hee. The dragon ball was nurtured by the origin source of flame. No ordinary flames can destroy it. The blue flame just now was able to counter the fire divine dragon, but he is simply too weak. Wuxia watched with a smile. Miracle Dr. Bloodman and Maniac G by his side were stupefied by what they saw. A fire divine dragon transformed from a ball spat out from Wuxia's mouth could easily fight against 8 experts from fire god denomination. Is he still a human? God damn it. He's domineering. No wonder my master is fond of him. He's too strong. Miracle Dr. Bloodman muttered as he was dumbfounded. He turned around and looked at his master. Screw this golden-haired lad. How dare he tease my master? Haha, now he's scared stiff. Miracle Dr. Bloodman yelled with a contemptuous face as he saw Hung Wang holding his lava ball in defense of the penetrating lights, sweating. Upon hearing Miracle Dr. Bloodman, terror surfaced in Hung Wang's eyes. He could not have imagined that this holy and beautiful-looking girl would be such a terrifying person. He had wanted to follow his tracker later at night to abduct her and make her his concubine after annihilating Flame Palace. But now he only had fear and despair. If it were not for the lava ball, he could have been penetrated by those daunting lights and been completely purified. Purify. However, he heard a pleasant voice when his thoughts were running wild. The voice sounded like a devil's call from hell. He stared with wide-open eyes. Suddenly, the beams of light in front of him quickly gathered and formed into the head of a light divine dragon. The enormous head of the light divine dragon bit him straight away. No! Terror and remorse were heard from his scream as Hung Wang was swallowed by it. The fist-sized lava ball fell onto the ground. The head of the light divine dragon and Hung Wang disappeared. Hung Wang was completely purified. Dragon incineration. At this time Wang Xian let out a soft bellow. The fire divine dragon in front rolled its body with immense fire encompassing a radius of more than 10 meters. The entire region turned into fire divine dragon's territory as it rolled itself. Shrieks and screams of disbelief were heard. The 10 of them had annihilated dozens of inborn experts of Flame Palace. Yet they were exterminated by one person with a spiritual treasure. Since when did China have such a formidable existence? Chapter 260 Generous Spoils of War. Flames raged and a fire divine dragon flew in circles around them. The surrounding grass and trees had all perished. Roar! The fire divine dragon let out a roar, turned over gradually and looked to Wang Xian. Moving his huge dragon body, he flew towards Wang Xian directly. Wang Xian stretched out his hand. The fire divine dragon turned back into the dragon ball and landed on his hand. Silence returned to the surroundings once again. The autumn wind was soughing and the Flame Palace had been annihilated. Only an old man among the group of experts from the Fire God denomination was left lying on the floor. As for the rest, they had been reduced to ashes. At a location a short distance away there were various bags. Inside the bags were treasures that the Fire God denomination had looted from the Flame Palace. My master is incredible. The idol of my master is domineering and imposing. Miracle Dr. Bloodman chanted loudly. No one knew where he had learnt these phrases from. Young master, let us go get the treasures. Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan commented before moving forward to grab the bags. Even if the Dragon King could shatter the sky or crush the land, they wouldn't be surprised. In their hearts, the Dragon King was invincible. Wang Xian nodded his head as he looked at the lava ball that had fallen to the ground in front of him. The dragon ball in his hand flew above the lava ball and sucked it up. The dragon ball was devouring the lava ball gradually as they slowly fused. The glow of the dragon ball grew even brighter, and one could vaguely sense a divine dragon moving around him. Under the control of Wang Xian, the dragon ball flew to where the old man with blue flames was. Flames spewed over and the body of the old man was reduced to ashes. However, a fist-sized blue flame remained suspended in the air. This blue flame is really powerful. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment before drawing the blue flame towards himself with the dragon ball. Heavenly Flame, Tranquil Blue Flame. Level 9. A level 9 flame. No wonder it could resist the level 10 dragon ball. When Wang Xian looked at the ball of Heavenly Flame, he was slightly shocked. He hesitated for a moment and didn't let the dragon ball absorb it. If the dragon ball absorbed it, it would vanish completely. This wouldn't bring much incremental increase in strength to the dragon ball. Its effectiveness would be even worse than the lava ball. When the dragon ball fused with the lava ball, it would retain the effects of the lava ball. However, absorbing the heavenly flame wouldn't be the same. The flames of the dragon ball were very similar to the origin source. All other types of flames could be absorbed by it. Young master, we found quite an amount of treasures. Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan carried over the treasures that had been gathered by the group from the Fire God denomination. Approximately 1,500 spiritual stones, 3 tufts of level 6 spiritual medicine, and 10 tufts of level 5 spiritual medicine. All the spiritual medicines are of fire attribute. Besides these, the most precious of all should be this, said Mo Qinglong before handing the basketball-sized body refining spiritual flame ball to Wang Xian. Body Refining Spiritual Flame Ball. Level 9. Inject flames into the body to refine one's physical body. When Wang Xian looked at the Body Refining Spiritual Flame Ball and received its information, he was shocked. Injecting flames to refine the body was an extremely powerful effect. For cultivators with fire attributes, this would bring great benefits. Through this cultivation treasure, a martial artist could increase his affinity with flames and thus the speed of cultivation. It could even allow one to break through to the inborn realm quickly, and thus was incomparably valuable. It's no surprise that the palace master of Flame Palace stole it away despite risking him incurring the wrath of the fire god denomination. For the Flame Palace, this is too valuable. Wang Xian heaved a sigh. It was also because of the Body Refining Spiritual Flame Ball that the Flame Palace could quickly nurture several inborn experts and push the Flame Palace to the level of a sacred sect. However, there was a huge weakness in them becoming a sacred sect through this method, and that was the fact that their foundation couldn't keep up. This was also the reason why the Flame Palace was easily annihilated. This Body Refining Spiritual Flame Ball could be absorbed by the Dragon Ball. After absorbing it, the Dragon Ball would also possess the ability to refine one's body. A faint smile appeared on Wang Xian as he placed the Dragon Ball above it. Suddenly, the Dragon Ball ejected a layer of flames that gradually surrounded the Body Refining Spiritual Flame Ball and started fusing with it. Take all the treasures along. Let's go. Wang Xian looked around before instructing Mo Qinglong and the group. Yes, young master. Mo Qinglong and the group nodded their heads. Sun Lingxiu smiled and followed behind Wang Xian. As for Miracle Dr. Bloodman, he quickly followed behind Sun Lingxiu. Maniac Ji looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. Nonetheless, he caught up with him quickly. In the middle of the night, 6 figures gradually disappeared from view. No one had expected the experts that annihilated the Flame Palace were in turn killed easily. At this moment, figure after figure were heading towards Flame Palace at high speed. Some were strong experts at the half-step to Inborn Realm while others were horrifying Inborn experts. All the experts in Flame City and the surrounding cities were heading there. Flame Palace has been annihilated. The voice of an old man pierced through the silent night. How can this be? Flame Palace had just become a sacred sect. How can they be annihilated? A sacred sect was annihilated? How can this be? Oh my God! Flame Palace is on fire. Flame Palace has really been annihilated. Based on Flame Palace disciples that managed to escape, it was the 10 experts from the Fire God denomination that annihilated their Flame Palace. Fire God denomination is a powerful force internationally with a deep history. No one would have expected them to deploy so many experts to annihilate the Flame Palace. 10 inborn experts easily annihilated the Flame Palace. This Flame Palace's history is still too short. Shocking. Astonishing. All the experts that had rushed over stared at the burning Flame Palace in shock. A sacred sect had been destroyed right in front of them. Great. Since the Flame Palace had become a sacred sect, their disciples had been extremely arrogant. They deserved to be annihilated. Damn! Those absurdly arrogant Flame Palace disciples had been oppressing all the families in Flame City. They deserved it. While some were shocked, others were cheering. Flame Palace disciples had been too arrogant recently, and had totally disregarded the other ancient martial arts families and sects in Flame City. When they saw disciples of Flame Palace, they had to lower their head. Now that the Flame Palace was annihilated, although they were shocked, they felt gratified. From this, one could easily tell that the reputation of Flame Palace wasn't too favorable. Their behavior was similar to a man who got rich overnight. Let's find a place for tonight before heading back tomorrow. It was already midnight. Wang Xian, Sun Lingxiu and the group were walking towards the city center of Flame City. Flame City was a small city. It was serene with beautiful landscape. Some places in the city had preserved the buildings from ancient times. They were arranged neatly in a row and looked beautiful and dignified. However, as they were in a small city, there was no one around them at midnight. Pa. Just as Wang Xian and the group approached a small street, they heard rapid footsteps. 2 small figures were running quickly while turning back worryingly from time to time. They were agile and one could easily tell that they were martial artists. Oh, rascals, you two sure can hide. I can't believe you managed to hide from us for a month. You have no one to blame except yourself. You guys won't be getting away this time. Behind them, more than a dozen middle-aged men were chasing them while mocking them. Oh. Chapter 261. Be your teacher. Little sister, run now. Hurry. Let me handle them. A little boy was holding a girl's hand as they raced across a serene path. Upon hearing the taunting voices from behind, the little boy had a hopeless look on his face before he stopped and shouted at the little girl. No, brother. I'm not leaving. I'm staying with you. The eyes of the little girl were flushed with redness as she shook her head with stubbornness. She bit her lip as she stared at her elder brother. Mingxin, be good. Go now. If not, none of us can escape. As the little boy spun his head and looked at the dozens of middle-aged men, he pleaded with his sister anxiously. Hayak, none of you can escape. A dozen middle-aged men gazed at them with a teasing look and approached them just like how a cat would play with a rat. You people. Stop right there. The boy glared at the group of people with anger. He put out his arms and stood firmly in front of the little girl, protecting her with a pair of determined eyes. Wow, this little fellow is great since he knows how to protect his sister. I wonder if you will want to kill us when we kill your sister before you later on. I'm so scared. A middle-aged man who was leading the team stared at them playfully as he revealed a ghastly smile on his face. You villains, I'll never let you off even if you kill me. The little boy gritted his teeth until traces of blood were seen. He stared at the man with a pair of obstinate and vengeful eyes. What a pair of fierce eyes. The middle-aged man stared at the juvenile coldly. I wonder if you can be fierce when I dig your eyes out, said the middle-aged man as he approached the two children, looking ruthless. Little sister, run now. The little boy gritted his teeth. He turned and pushed the little girl away before he took out a sharp dagger from his waist and thrust it at the group of middle-aged men. You're already a level 4 martial artist at such a young age. You are talented. But it's your fault for coming to this world. The middle-aged man raised the sword in his hand with a cold face. Along with the scabbard, he wielded his sword at the little boy. Bam! When the sword scabbard hit the young body, the little boy was thrown 5 meters away from his spot like a doll. He even spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Brother! When the little girl saw her brother spit out blood after being knocked down on the ground, tears rolled down from her cheeks immediately. She quickly ran to the boy and threw herself on him. Don't kill my brother. Lass, don't worry. You'll soon be joining him. The middle-aged man put on a creepy smile. Wang Xian and the rest walked over slowly. When he swept his gaze across the boy and girl, he felt odd as his eyes glistened. Seeing them reminded him of himself and his sister Xiaoyu. They were so similar. The group of middle-aged men paused slightly when they saw Wang Xian and his gang walking over. With a cold bellow, one said, "Get lost now." Sun Lingxiu looked at the pair of children and frowned as she strode towards them. Poking your nose around? I guess all of you are digging your own graves. The middle-aged man threw Sun Lingxiu and Wang Xian death stares while the rest of the middle-aged men watched them coldly from behind. Sun Lingxiu ignored the middle-aged man as she continued on her way to the two kids with an unwavering expression. The little boy gazed at Sun Lingxiu and Wang Xian as his eyes were seeking for help. Subsequently, he turned and stared daggers at the middle-aged man. Do you want to die? How dare you come over? The middle-aged man stared at the approaching Sun Lingxiu with a ruthless expression as he drew his sword with his right hand. Boom! Before Sun Lingxiu and the rest could strike, Wang Xian swung his arm, sweeping blazing flames at the dozen of middle-aged men. What? All of them stared with wide and round eyes. That was the only word that appeared in their minds before they lost consciousness and vanished in the air, as though they had never existed before. He's formidable. The little boy who fell on the ground was shaken as he turned to look at Wang Xian in a stupor. Who? Sun Lingxiu came to them. With an arm swing, a white-colored light entered the little boy's body and healed his injuries straight away. The little girl parted her lips slightly as she lifted her head and looked at Sun Lingxiu with tears all over her face. Let's go. Wang Xian took a look at the siblings and spoke impassively to Sun Lingxiu. Sun Lingxiu paused for a moment before she nodded to Wang Xian. The group of people made their way forward once again. Thank you, big brother and sister. The little boy quickly got up and went to Wang Xian. You're welcome. You're pretty good too. Wang Xian gave him a faint smile and continued on his way to the hotel ahead. Brother, I would like to become your disciple. The little boy hurriedly followed beside him and shouted with passionate eyes and a face full of anticipation. Wang Xian looked at him and shook his head slowly. Brother, please. I beg you to take me as your disciple. I will practice hard, and I'll become an expert. The little boy was desperate as he pleaded loudly again. Wang Xian kept his silence and strode ahead. Brother, please. I beg you to accept me as a disciple. The little boy's voice was shaking and he was almost in tears. He went down on his knees immediately, with a knocking sound coming from the ground. Big brother, please accept my brother as your disciple. The little girl ran to her brother and knelt down to Wang Xian, just like how her brother did. Wang Xian paused for a moment. He shook his head gently before he went ahead. Disciple? You've got to be kidding me. He was not in the mood to be taking in any disciple. Besides, he did not know how to teach one even if he did. Sun Lingxiu spun her head and looked at the siblings with pity. Brother, please accept me as a disciple, the little boy shouted again. Wang Xian ignored him and walked into the hotel along with the rest. The little boy's expression darkened as he stood up slowly. He gritted his teeth while he watched Wang Xian entering the hotel. Let's go, sister. I must ask him to be my teacher and master formidable martial arts, so that I can protect you in the future. We will not be hunted by someone else, and we be able to avenge our mother, said the little boy with determination as he wiped the tears on his sister's face. Okay, I'll follow you. The little girl nodded as she reached for her brother's hand. Let's go over. The little boy followed behind Wang Xian and came to the entrance of the hotel. He stood at the door and knelt on the ground with a pair of resolute eyes. The girl followed suit beside him. Sister, I'll not let you suffer with me again. The boy stroked the head of his sister when she knelt together with him. Okay, I trust you. I'll be happy if I can be together with you from now on. A smile surfaced on the little girl's face. Two children were kneeling in front of the hotel without moving an inch. Chapter 262. Taking in a disciple. The morning in Flame City was shrouded by faint fog, making this little city look a little like an immortal's realm. Wang Xian opened the window of his hotel room and gave Xiao Yu and Guan Shuqing a call on his mobile phone. At this moment, Wang Xian squinted his eyes and looked towards the entrance of the hotel. There were two figures. They were skinny but stubborn and looked familiar to him. Both of them kneeled in front of the hotel, not moving an inch. The boy and girl looked a little pale and seemed like they might faint at any moment. They are really stubborn. Wang Xian looked at the boy and girl. The boy was at most 15 years old while the girl might have been just 12 or 13 years old. From the two of them, he seemed to have seen Xiao Yu in his shadows. However, he was generally luckier. He wasn't hunted by others and didn't have to wander the world. They probably have been kneeling here for the entire night. Wang Xian was a little moved as his resolve wavered. He had never thought of taking in a disciple, let alone guiding one's cultivation. At 7+ in the morning, the boy and girl kneeling at the entrance of the hotel attracted the attention of many people. Some hotel guests that were leaving stared at them, feeling baffled. Two beggars? Why are they begging at the entrance of the hotel early in the morning? How unlucky we are to witness this. They are so young and yet are begging here. I really wonder what their family members are thinking. They must have gone crazy from thinking about money. As the guests from the hotel walked out one after another, they saw the dirty and skinny boy and girl. They couldn't help but frown and critique. These two kids are really pitiful. Only a city cleaner walked towards the two kids after seeing them. From his pocket, she took out a crumpled $10 note and said, Hey kids, get yourself some breakfast. The boy looked at the old woman and shook his head. Take it. I still have to work. Get yourself something to eat. The old woman threw the $10 note on the ground before moving to the side and starting to clean the streets. The boy and girl didn't say a word and simply kneeled there. They were clearly fatigued but still looked attentively towards the entrance of the hotel. Wah! Master, there are 2 beggars right there. At this moment, a group of 7 to 8 people walked out from the hotel. Among them, a little boy pointed at the boy and girl kneeling at the entrance of the hotel as he exclaimed. He ran towards the boy and girl excitedly while scrutinizing them. My servants, you may rise. The little boy was roughly 13 to 14 years old. He stood in front of the boy and girl and shouted mockingly while imitating what he had seen on television. I have already told you to rise. Why are you still kneeling down? Disobedient. The little boy tucked his hands on his waist and was clearly displeased. He continued shouting, Your young master is asking you to rise. Can't you hear him? Ha ha ha. The little boy broke into laughter while speaking. He looked to the girl beside and extended his hand over to pinch her face. Get lost. Seeing that the little boy was reaching towards his sister to pinch her face, the boy that was kneeling down was furious and pushed him away. That little boy staggered and almost fell. How dare you push me? I'm going to beat you to death. The little boy was furious to have been pushed away. He lifted his leg and kicked towards the head of the other boy. Although the little boy was young, he was extremely agile and fast while striking. The force and speed of his kick was even stronger than an ordinary hunk. The boy that was kneeling on the floor was enraged. He lifted his hands and pushed away the little boy again. The little boy had the strength of a level 2 martial artist at most. He was still a far cry from the other boy. Even though the other boy was kneeling down, the little boy was still pushed away. Art! That little boy fell to the ground and let out a cry. Xiao! A middle-aged man from the group of 7 to 8 people shouted worryingly, and walked over from the car park slot outside the hotel. Master, that beggar hit me. The little boy was furious. His face was flushed as he stared at the boy on the ground. It's all right. Xiao. Master will teach him a lesson on your behalf. The middle-aged man caressed the little boy's head lovingly. His attention then moved to the boy and girl on the ground. You two are just beggars and yet you dare to hit someone. You guys really do not know where you stand. The middle-aged man stared harshly at the boy kneeling on the floor before turning to his disciple and saying, Xiao, hit him the same way he hit you. If he still dares to retaliate, Master will teach him a lesson. Yes, Master. The little boy stared at the boy on the ground and remarked, With my master here, I'll be the one hitting you. He clenched his fist and threw it towards the boy on the ground immediately. The boy that was kneeling down could sense the ill intents of the surrounding people. He gritted his teeth and used his hands to protect himself while the little boy attacked him. However, he didn't dare to retaliate. You are pretty good at taking a beating. Seeing that his disciple's fist was blocked, the middle-aged man was surprised and looked at the boy on the ground. You're just a beggar without parents. Yet you dare to hit me. I'm going to beat you to death. Teske. As the little boy spoke, he threw punch after punch at the boy on the ground. Don't hit my brother. You are a bad guy. The girl beside the boy on the ground was furious as she grabbed the little boy's hand. How dare you scratch me? I'm going to hit you. Hit you. Seeing that the girl left a scratch wound on his arm, the little boy kicked towards the girl furiously. Don't kick my sister. The boy on the ground pounced towards the little boy once again. How dare you retaliate? The middle-aged man threw a kick towards the boy on the ground after seeing him retaliate. Bam! The middle-aged man's kick landed on the boy and sent him lying on the ground, grimacing in pain. Brother! Beside them, the exclamation of the girl sounded. Die! Within the hotel, while Wang Xian was still hesitating, he saw the incident at the entrance of the hotel. A cold look flashed in his eyes. He moved like a phantom and jumped down from the 6th floor of the hotel without catching the attention of anyone. I'll ask my master to beat you to death for hitting me. The arrogant voice from that little boy sounded once again. All right, Xiao Qiu. Don't be so calculative with a beggar. He's not qualified yet. The middle-aged man smiled and said to the little boy. Wang Xian looked coldly at the middle-aged man, the little boy and the group that came with them. He walked ahead towards the boy on the ground. Brother, are you all right? I'm fine, your brother is fine. The boy shook his head and forced out a pitiful smile. You are pretty good. At this moment, an emotionless voice sounded. The boy turned around and was instantly overwhelmed by joy. He looked agitatedly at Wang Xian as excitement filled his face. Chapter 263 Beat him up. Will you accept me as a disciple? The boy's face was filled with thrill. He immediately knelt beside Wang Xian with a pair of eyes filled with anticipation. Stand up. Wang Xian looked at him and patted his shoulder gently. Master, if you don't take me as your disciple, I will not stand up, the boy said to Wang Xian with some obstinacy. That would depend on your performance. Wang Xian looked at the boy with a smile on his face. He repeated, stand up now. With some hesitation, the boy stood up slowly. He supported his numb feet with his hands before he picked his sister up from the ground. Wang Xian nodded and turned to the middle-aged man and the other boy. Then he told the boy beside him, duel him. Hit him just like how he did to you. Master, he. The boy looked at the middle-aged man and hesitated. It's okay. Wang Xian shook his head and continued. He has a backing, so do you. Yes, master. The boy brightened up his eyes as he nodded his head with force. He looked at the other boy and walked towards him. I, Xiaoran, want to challenge you. The boy walked towards the other boy and spoke with seriousness. Her. The boy who was talking to the middle-aged man was slightly stunned. That middle-aged man was also taken aback as he looked at Xiaoran. Xiaoran was earnest as he repeated to the boy again, I want to challenge you. Haha, a little beggar wants to challenge other people. I think you can get lost and return to your begging. The middle-aged man found Xiaoran funny as he teased him. You're an adult. Don't meddle around in the kids' affairs. Wang Xian looked at the middle-aged man as he spoke coldly. Oh. The middle-aged man spun his head and looked at Wang Xian with coldness flashing in his eyes. Is your disciple afraid to answer his challenge? Wang Xian looked impassively at the middle-aged man. Ha! Just a beggar. I'm afraid my disciple will kill him by accident. The middle-aged man threw a disdainful look at Wang Xian. He then looked at his disciple. Xiao Qiu, show them your kung fu that you learned from me. Teach that little beggar a lesson. Yes, master. The boy nodded as he straightened his body and got into his ready stance. Xiaoran's expression turned cold. Despite his young age, his eyes were sharp when he stared at the boy. I'm going to attack. Show them what you've learned from me. The middle-aged man smiled and spoke to the boy. What a spoiled child. Wang Xian looked at that boy with an aloof expression. Lad, watch your mouth, said the middle-aged man to Wang Xian. Who? Ha! Just then, Xiaoran launched his attack at that boy with a frail-looking body. The young boy let out a cry as he attacked Xiaoran in his stance. Bam! However, the boy was obviously not of the same level as Xiaoran in terms of their strength and experience. Bam! Xiaoran's fist punched forcefully on the boy, sending his teeth flying out as he landed on the ground. He did not put up any resistance at all. It was a combat of different classes. What? How dare you hurt my disciple? You're asking for your doom. When the middle-aged man saw his disciple landing on the ground instantly, he was infuriated. He reached out his arm to grab Xiaoran. Standing at the side, Wang Xian narrowed his eyes and stretched out his hand to grab the middle-aged man by his arm. Ah! The middle-aged man let out a scream. He turned his head and stared at Wang Xian in horror. Do you want to die? I think it is you who wants to die. Wang Xian looked at him indifferently. Master. Xiaoran walked over with a thrilled face when he saw Wang Xian stopping the middle-aged man's attack. If someone hits you, just fight with him. Don't be afraid, said Wang Xian to him impassively. Yes, master. Xiao Ran nodded his head with force. Oh, let me go, the middle-aged yelled in embarrassment. Wang Xian was still gripping his arm. No matter how he tried to shake him off, he could not struggle out of his grip. Ka ka ka. Wang Xian looked at the middle-aged man emotionlessly. He moved his arm and a bone-cracking sound was heard. Ah! The middle-aged let out a painful cry. Feng Liang. Junior brother. At this time, 6 middle-aged men who heard the scream turned their heads immediately. They were waiting to fetch someone when they realized the boy was lying on the floor, and the middle-aged man was in pain. All of them were exasperated. Xiaoqiu. Junior brother, are you all right? 6 of them walked over and asked with nasty looks. How dare you cripple my arm? The middle-aged man was shaking as he glared daggers at Wang Xian with a darkened expression. His eyes were filled with killing intent. What? You want to die? The group of middle-aged men turned and glared at Wang Xian immediately. No, I think you guys are asking for it. Just then a cold voice suddenly cut the air. Daunting oppression enveloped the group of middle-aged men instantly. This. For a moment terror struck the middle-aged men. They turned around with shaken bodies. Several people walked over from the hotel entrance. 2 middle-aged men were leading at the front as one of them was giving them cold stares. Daunting oppression exuded from his body. Such oppression. This is inborn. Inborn expert. He's an inborn expert. A hint of terror flashed across their faces while looking extremely dreadful. Hee hee. Wang Xian cast a contemptuous glance at them. He then turned to Xiao Ran and his sister and gestured for them to walk away. They turned out to be. The middle-aged man whose arm was crippled was shivering. He stared angrily at Wang Xian. Sect leader is here. Sect leader and vice-sect leader are here. At this moment, the group of middle-aged men looked into the distance with shaken bodies and embarrassed looks. Faint glimmers flashed in their eyes. They looked at Wang Xian and his clique with ruthless expressions. Stop right there, all of you. You're leaving after you wounded Xiaoqiu and my junior brother. I'll make you pay a hefty price for this. Inborn experts. Do you think you can bully us just because you're an inborn expert? It's not going to work today even if you have inborn experts. Several middle-aged men bellowed coldly at Wang Xian and his clique with radiance flashing in their eyes. Oh! Wang Xian drew his lips when he heard their cold bellows. He spun around, gazing at them with a smile on his face. Mo Yuan and Mo Qinglong threw them emotionless glances with impatient looks. Qingmu sect is not afraid of you. If you do not give us an explanation today, you'll not leave this place easily. Several middle-aged men's barking drew the attention of another group of people who were walking towards them from a short distance. They wore green uniforms with 2 elders walking in the middle of the group. The old man took a majestic gait as he exuded imposing demeanor. Their eyes were sharp as they turned their attention over here. Chapter 264. Comparing number of inborn experts. Oh! Wang Xian and the rest stopped and stared coldly at the few middle-aged men who shouted at them. You can't possibly leave like this today. How dare you cripple our junior brother's arm? We will definitely make you pay twice. The group of middle-aged men stared harshly at them after catching sight of their sect leader and members walking over. Oh, he. Mo Yuan looked at the group of middle-aged men and noticed another group of people from Qingmu sect walking towards them. His expression turned callous. Just as the group of middle-aged men was feeling pompous while waiting for the sect leader, Mo Yuan suddenly moved. He disappeared from his original location suddenly as one could only see a black shadow sweeping by. Art! Shrieks of pain propagated through the air. You guys, you dare! All the middle-aged men were stunned. They looked blankly at Mo Yuan, their eyes filled with horror and disbelief. What? The group from Qingmu sect that was walking towards the incident was shocked. The 2 old men walking at the front of the group were clearly infuriated. How dare you injure the disciples of our Qingmu sect? You must be seeking your own demise, shouted the old man as he led the group over swiftly with his eyes fixed on Mo Yuan. How dare you show arrogance in front of us? Do you guys believe you are qualified to do so? Mo Yuan had completely ignored the approaching group of people from Qingmu's sect while staring at the few middle-aged men that he had crippled completely with contempt. You! The few middle-aged men were gripped by fear. They had never expected themselves to be crippled because of some brazen words. Moreover, they were crippled right in front of the experts from their own sect. Feeling their crushed elixir field, they were desolated. With their elixir field crushed, they would become ordinary people. This made them feel despair. Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, the people from Qingmu's sect had surrounded Wang Xian and the group. Two old men standing in the middle of the circle looked extremely gloomy. Sect leaders, he crippled all of us. A middle-aged man reported to the two old men while grimacing in pain. If you say another word, I'll slaughter you, said Mo Yuan coldly as he stared at the few middle-aged men. The few of them were immediately frightened. You guys aren't even going to show us Qingmu's sect the slimmest of respect. Great. The two old men turned their heads over and stared at Mo Yuan. From them, strong killing intent and the aura of inborn experts shrouded towards Mo Yuan. To attack their disciples right before their eyes, this was completely disrespectful to Qingmu's sect. As experts, they would naturally want them to pay a huge price for their actions. Sect leaders, you have to back us up. We have 2 inborn experts while they only have 1. Yet, they dare to mistreat us. Beside them, a middle-aged man pointed at Wang Xian and the group angrily while remarking, "We will definitely back you up on this incident. Since they dare to cripple you, I'll let them pay a price 100 times more." The two old men glowered at Mo Yuan. "If you don't give us a good explanation today, we will put you down forever, even if you are an inborn expert." 2 inborn experts? Wang Xian looked towards the 2 sect leaders of Qingmu's sect and smiled mockingly. "Are you guys comparing the number of inborn experts?" asked Wang Xian in a ridiculing tone. Within the underworld, the strong rule. Those who die because they offend the strong will not be pitied. One of the old men stared at Wang Xian coldly and demanded strongly, "I'll give you 5 seconds to give us a satisfactory answer. Don't you ever harbor the idea that you could offend the Qingmu sect just because you have an inborn expert with you." The 2 old men put on an arrogant front as they stared gloomily at them. "You want a satisfactory answer?" Mo Qinglong smiled at them mockingly. Suddenly the atmosphere around him changed. A horrifying and stifling aura shrouded towards the sect leader of Qingmu's sect. Mo Yuan also released his aura as he pushed back. "Are you satisfied with this answer?" Mo Qinglong looked plainly at the old men with disdain. If you still aren't satisfied." Miracle Dr. Bloodman walked out slowly and stared coldly at the group from Qingmu's sect. "Let's have a fight, and your death will really not be pitied by anyone." As he spoke, blood started flowing throughout his tuxedo. A strong scent of blood propagated towards the 2 old men from Qingmu's sect. "What?" When the 2 sect leaders saw Mo Qinglong and Miracle Dr. Bloodman stepping forward and directing their strong aura towards them, they were horrified. Rumble. At this moment, another violent aura shot over. This is bad. Facing the pressure from 4 inborn experts, the 2 old men were petrified, and this was clearly evident in their expressions. Perspiration covered their foreheads suddenly as they staggered back subconsciously. As for the disciples that had surrounded them, their bodies had completely gone stiff. The pressure from the 4 inborn experts made them feel like there was a mountain weighing down on them. Their bodies couldn't help but shiver slightly. Bam! Bam! A few weaker disciples couldn't withstand the horrifying and dense pressure as they fell to the ground. "I'm sorry. If our Qingmu sect has offended you guys, please forgive us." The 2 sect leaders of Qingmu sect were flushed while looking at Mo Qinglong, Mo Yuan, Maniac G and Miracle Dr. Bloodman with horror. They had never expected the other party to have 4 inborn experts. 4 of them. They still thought they could have easily suppressed the other inborn expert, as there were 2 of them. However, to their surprise, the other party had 4 inborn experts. That's twice theirs. Who the hell did these disciples offend? The 2 sect leaders of Qingmu sect immediately begged for mercy, for inborn experts could easily annihilate their Qingmu sect. Since we have given you a satisfactory answer, should you give us a satisfactory answer too? Mo Qinglong said mockingly while staring at the two sect leaders. We. The two old men looked conflicted as they gritted their teeth while withstanding the aura from the four inborn experts. The surrounding disciples of Qingmu sect were horrified. As for those few middle-aged men, they were completely dumbfounded and lay flat on the ground. They had never expected themselves to draw such horrifying enemies because of a spoilt child. For inborn experts, I'll give you 5 seconds to consider. Mo Qinglong returned the words back to the two old men. Bam! 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 The two old men were bitter. They gritted their teeth, exchanged glances and waved their hands. Streams of energy fell on the few middle-aged men that were previously crippled. Art! Shrieks of horror sounded once again. The few middle-aged men shivered violently. Their eyes were filled with despair and desolation. Their elixir fields were crushed previously, and now their limbs were crippled by their sect leaders. This made them feel like they had fallen into hell in a day. If only we had not halted them arrogantly. Remorse and regret overwhelmed the group of middle-aged men. If they had not halted this group of horrifying people, neither their elixir field nor their limbs would be crippled. Misery filled their faces. The strong ruled the underworld after all. If you offended an expert when you did not have the strength, your outcome would be devastating. Chapter 265 Sacred Clan. The crowd gathered before the hotel drew the attention of many people. In particular today when the news of Flame Palace getting annihilated had spread around. Numerous powerful families and sects in the surrounding rushed over here. Those who arrived early were surprised by what they saw at the hotel entrance. Her? Isn't that Miracle Dr. Wang? And a few inborn experts around him? Sure enough. I've said Miracle Dr. Wang's subordinates were those who were pit against Flame Palace during their pilgrimage. Looks like it's the truth. Miracle Dr. Wang seems to be on good terms with those inborn experts. That is Qingmu sect. Why did they provoke Miracle Dr. Wang and his people? Are they digging their graves? Didn't they know that Wang Xian and his people were good enough to go against the sacred sect? Seems like some Qingmu sect disciples offended Wang Xian and his group. Qingmu sect is really courting their own doom. Given the strength of Miracle Dr. Wang and those few around him, they are comparable to a first-class force. Miracle Dr. Wang has a strong network. Qingmu sect only has 2 inborn experts, and yet they actually provoked him? Most of those who arrived early had attended the pilgrimage of Flame Palace. The group of spectators whispered their comments among themselves when they saw what happened. When the Qingmu sect disciples vaguely overheard the surrounding conversations from the center spot, their faces went green. Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. They might not have paid attention to this name before, but after what had happened yesterday, this name had already propagated around the surrounding provinces. He was the miracle doctor who dared to pit himself against the Flame Palace, to the extent of embarrassing them. Now, the Qingmu sect actually offended such an existence. Damn, he could even pit himself against a sacred sect, not to mention a Qingmu sect. 5 to 6 Qingmu sects could not even match up to a Flame Palace. Gentlemen, are you satisfied? The 2 Qingmu sect leaders were looking dreadful. They lowered their heads and asked this with respect. Why go to such extent? Wang Xian was sarcastic as he walked ahead. Let's go. Wow. The rest of the surrounding Qingmu sect disciples hurriedly gave way as they saw them off with fear and respect. You'll be my unofficial disciple from now on. Wang Xian spoke to Xiao Ran indifferently. Thank you, master. My name is Xiao Ran. This is my sister Lu Mengxin. Oh, is she your biological sister? Yes, master. I followed the last name of my father while my sister followed my mother's. Sister, the white-colored light you released the other day was impressive. Can you teach me? I want to become your disciple. Xiao Ran and Lu Mengxin were elated as they talked to Wang Xian and Sun Lingxiu. The group of figures and their voices slowly diminished. Qingmu sect disciples heaved a deep sigh of relief behind them. They were gasping for breath. The 2 Qingmu sect leaders also wiped the sweat from their foreheads. How did they even provoke such a domineering existence? They looked at the middle-aged men who were lying on the floor with cold eyes. Everyone was commenting on it. Oh, a large luxury bus was driving from Flame City to Rivertown at a rapid speed. Wang Xian was hugging manuals in the car. These manuals were taken from those Fire God denomination people, which included Cultivation Arts of Flame Palace and Fire God denomination. They were the top-notch manuals. But they were of no use to Wang Xian. He cast a glance at Xiao Ran, who looked reserved while standing beside him. I think you also practice fire-attributed manual? Your art of cultivation is great, said Wang Xian, looking at him. Yes, master, Xiao Ran answered as he nodded. But he quickly lowered his head. It was from my father's family. Family? Wang Xian nodded. Where did you stay? Shangjing. Xiao family of Shangjing. We came from a huge family known as the Sacred Clan. Xiao Ran answered without the slightest hesitation or concealment. Shangjing's Sacred Clan. An unexpected radiance flashed in his eyes. Shangjing, the capital of the country, used to be the ancient city where emperors lived. Now it had become one of the cities with the strongest foundations in the country. Shangjing, a place known to have gathered hidden talents and experts. In this country, sacred sect did not represent a sect, but rather, a sacred clan. However, sacred clans were rather scarce as compared to saint class sections. Besides, every sacred clan was a powerful family with hundreds of years of legacy. The disciples in the clan could hit more than thousands. Sacred clans were not any weaker than sacred sects. They were even more united and stronger. Memorize these fire-attributed cultivation arts. As Wang Xian spoke, he grabbed Xiao Ran's arm and examined him. His physique was considered good, but it was still far off compared to inborn constitution. But Wang Xian did not unblock his 8 extraordinary meridians with his dragon energy. He had his own plan. Xiao Ran was only his unofficial disciple, and he would not turn him into a dragon. So Xiao Ran was just a human disciple. Yes, master. Xiao Ran was showing his excitement as he nodded his head hard to Wang Xian. He took the manuals and began his reading at the side. Wang Xian nodded with satisfaction. He fidgeted his finger with a ball of blue flames dancing on it. Even though you're just an unofficial disciple, I'll make you rise above the sacred clans. As an incompetent master, this flame is my gift for you. Wang Xian pondered to himself as he looked to the other side. Lu Mingxin was sitting beside Sun Lingxiu, watching her with a pair of watery eyes. This lass wished to possess magical power, so that she could treat her brother's injuries in the future. Sun Lingxiu examined her body before she finally agreed to it. The bus quickly came back to the city. Maniac Ji bid goodbye to Wang Xian with respect. After witnessing Wang Xian's capabilities and strength, he was in complete awe. He could not imagine how Wang Xian could transform a ball into a divine dragon and kill 8 powerful inborn experts. Old Mo, there's another villa not far from here. Go and buy that villa so that Xiao Ran, his sister, and you guys can stay over there, Wang Xian said to Mo Qinglong. Yes, young master. His villa was getting crowded. Wang Xian did not want too many people to disturb his happy sexual life. Lass, I roamed around the world for nearly a century. Anyone who sees me must address me as Sui Huang in respect. After you marry into the sacred clan Sui family, no one will dare to bully you. All the guys in the Sui family are outstanding. You can take your pick then. You can marry anyone you like. I'll make the decision for you. In the future, everyone in the Sui family will treat you with respect. Also, I'll let you have a taste of my strength. Don't be alarmed. Haha. Just when Wang Xian and the group of people were approaching the villa, an old man's elated voice was heard from it. Subsequently, overspreading oppression exuded from it.